welcome to the Apex Legends Global Series. Today is the last match day of Split 1, this time in NA. This means it's the last opportunity for these teams to get some points on the board and keep their hopes of LAN alive. Today, we will find out not only who we will see competing in the regional finals, but also which teams start to solidify their spots at those Split 1 playoffs. EMEA was a very close back and forth, and I expect NA will be as well, so let's get things started. I am your host, Glitter Explosion, and of course, I'm joined by our incredible casters, Tiff and Zephyr. Tiff, another region, another final match day. Are you ready to see what NA brings to the table?
I mean, yes, I'm very ready to see what they bring to the table, but also equally sad because it is relegation day and there's a lot of heavy hitting names that are down there on the line, and only time will tell if they can fight their way out of it.
It's definitely going to be an important day for a lot of our teams here today. We focused on the bubble a lot in EMEA, Zephyr, and NA is arguably closer with multiple ties in that top 20 area. So are you ready to see who can fight for it the hardest?
Ooh, when it comes down to fighting, it's going to be tooth and nail for any one of these rosters. Because like Tiff was saying, it's not just relegation, but also potentially making it to those regional finals. And when we talk about the mathematics behind that, it is as tight as it gets.
I cannot wait to see what's going on, because after the chaos we saw in EMEA, I think NA is going to be fantastic. And I mentioned the top 20 being close. We'll start things off by taking a look at those standings. So you guys at home eyes on though, but when we're talking about that bubble, we're looking at the likes of Sentinel, who we just saw. We've got EEC there, even FaZe down there below Sentinels. All of these teams wanting to push their way into the top 20, and considering which teams aren't playing today, nothing's actually out of the realm of possibility yet. There are opportunities for these squads to put themselves in a position to move up the leaderboard and continue on another week in the competition. So we're going to have to be paying attention to a lot of different things that are going on here today. All sorts of storylines, but you know, every single time we have a show, we like to focus down on some specific teams, ones that we want to be keeping our eyes on here today. So it's time for our ones to watch. We've got great choices. We've got Optic Gaming, Nine Lives, and Complexity. And I'm going to be starting things off with Optic Gaming because in the nicest way possible, they are a team that we had expected a lot out of this season. I mean, dropped, Skittle Cakes, and knocked all three players, none of whom are not experts in competing at LAN, playing in this ALGS Pro League, and currently finding themselves in a much more middling position, which for Optic Gaming is something that is surprising us here so far. You'll see their performances on every single match day. Now, I do want to point out that match days 3 and 7 were actually some of their worst performances, and that is when these same groups were going up against each other. So this will be an opportunity for them to really try and bring it back, as this was clearly their most difficult matchup amongst all of the groups, one being preseason 21 being after. Maybe they've had enough time to kind of try and adjust to this new meta now that we've had a little bit of time here. They're currently 18th in kills and 13th in placement points, but once again, that puts them somewhere in the middle when we know that they are capable of so much more. And I do want to shout out the fact that we did see a tweet from Dropped, though, after our EMEA region, replying to Hackis saying, good clutch up, now it's our turn. So Optic do know that today is going to be make or break for them, which is why I want to be keeping my eyes on what they are able to manage here today. But Zephyr, I want to hear from you and your thoughts on your team.
I like that you bring up the clutch up, because ultimately that's something that I've been talking about regarding EMEA and now going into NA, especially given how tight things are. For 9 lives in total, it's not the most explosive pick, but there's a reason why they're my ones to watch. We talk about this most recent match day, and to be honest, it's nothing too incredible. They finish 9th. But it's what's deeper inside it that is something I want to focus on. In one of their final games here, we see 9 Lives go from what was bottom of the barrel, sitting at roughly 10 points, to an eclipsing 23. And an explosive KP-filled game shot them through the rankings and pushed them all the way to 9th overall here. As a result, when we pop back on over to those overall standings, that was enough points to eclipse 25% of their overall point total and push them into 20th out of relegation and literally into those regional finals. So the lesson, anything can happen, and for any team, there is always an opportunity.
You're not wrong. Look, there is always an opportunity. And if Monsoon finds a Sentinel, well, there's even going to be more opportunities. So my one to watch is going to be none other than Complexity. And I just want to go ahead and give you a little bit of a reason why. Can we just roll the clips? Because they're crazy.
I'm coming up. I'm looking southwest, Go southwest, boys. Go southwest. We're good. On that rock, yo. Yeah, over there. Oh, God.
Watson, we get you, Mon.
Oh, I'm so good. I'm so good. I have 8 kills.
Yeah,
Look right, look north, too. North on the rock. 130 on that guy. Name that if we have it. Another fucking 60. We need to swing.
Got him.
Looking in. I can't even see anything. Shadow, you're dead. Yes, I know. Dude, I have 10 kills. That's a fucking solid. 15. Oh my God, let's go, boys.
Look, if that doesn't get your heart rate up, I really don't know what much more can do. Monsoon plus Sentinel, Complexity has been looking crazy. Let's go ahead and look at their performance from match day number 7, in which they took home the win. World's Edge, if you're just looking at that piece, it doesn't even look like it's gonna manifest it into anything crazy. 0 eliminations on both match 1 and 3. But you kind of jump on over to Stormpoint, where match number 6, they go out in 5th place with 15 eliminations. Match 5, 10. They start to pick up that pace, and they don't even need a map win to take the victory. You go back and you look at individual player stats. Monsoon is in the thick of it with names like Funk, Zero, Jen Burton, Timmy. He is 6 games down from Funk and just 6 eliminations away with an 8,400 damage differential. Now, I don't know if that's in part to him sitting on the Sentinel and just grinding away, because sometimes you charge up the Senti in that early game, you will literally hit a headshot for 156. So if you're not watching Complexity, I don't know what you're doing with your life.
I'm so glad that you chose Complexity too, because they were somebody that we couldn't stop talking about last time around. We even got to talk to Monsoon after their phenomenal performance, just to to see what was going on. What were the vibes? How are they feeling? He was absolutely elated. And all of that was done without Kimchi, okay? That's with a fill-in roster for the day, and you can still perform like that. It just shows just how much complexity is really coming together as a team. They're starting to find their groove, and it also shows just how important the slaying power is. And we even saw this earlier on in the day when it comes to the EMEA region. We saw Licite de France having a phenomenal performance, a lot of that kill heavy, and they were just kind of steamrolling through these teams and saw what a difference that made for them on the leaderboard. And that's what we're going to be focusing on here today, because a lot of these teams that are towards the bubble need to make a push like that, whether that's going for the slaying power or trying to be consistent in placement points, even though I don't think it's going to be enough. They need to bring that slaying power with it, Zephyr. They need to get every single point on the board here today if they want to set themselves up well for regional finals.
Of course, and we'll be doing our best as we make our way through the broadcast to keep you guys updated as quickly as we can regarding where those points end up performing for the overall, because for most of these teams, even those in relegation, even 2 or 3 points is enough to switch up. In EMEA today, we saw teams leap from relegation into regional finals, spelling out what could be their chance to go to LAN.
Oh man, it's going to be a lot for us to be keeping our eyes on. We'll also have an opportunity once we start getting into our matches to start discussing whether we're going to see any contests, where our zones are going to be shifting, and how that could potentially impact some of our squads. Dark Zero, one of those teams, or the only team that's currently now solidified their spot in those playoffs, being a Trials landing squad. And we've seen if you're far away and you end up going through Trials and Skyhook and you have it for free to yourself, you can get a lot of loot and get your shield evoed up really nicely before you even get into some of those first circles. But then they'll have to go through the likes of EEC, who's one of those teams that's on the bubble. And, you know, they're going to be pushing really hard to try and get some points on the board. There's so many different ways to look at the storylines that we have here today, Tiff. And there's just a lot on the line for these squads.
Yeah, I find it really interesting that you bring up EEC. We briefly mentioned them earlier, a team that is on the cusp for relegation. But you look at their historical performances, they're a team that has won a match day, and more specifically in this matchup, like groups B and C. So what do we need to get moving forward? Is it too little, too late? Can they repeat that? Because if they do have a day where they go to take at least a top 3, they will save themselves from relegation.
Yeah, we've seen just how one big performance can absolutely change the pace of the games for our squads here. But match number 1 seems like it should be about ready to get underway, which means Tiff and Zephyr, it's time to kick off NA.
Let's do it. We had so much fun in EMEA, and we want to carry that forward to North America. But we've got a few more things to talk about, Zephyr. More importantly, that map rotation of what we're going to be starting some things off of, that tried and true World's Edge. You know, we had a good time earlier in EMEA, some interesting zones.
A couple of interesting zones, notably out towards the northeast, where our friends and foes didn't get the opportunity to play. Hopefully this time around, maybe we show off a little bit of Lava Siphon, but that could upset a handful of individuals.
It really could, but World's Edge, that tried and true favorite. And I was talking earlier about some of the teams that I was like, you know, these teams are so strong on Stormpoint, they just need to do better on World's Edge. And then it kind of swapped. So at this point, season 20, it's just been very interesting to see all of our teams take scrims, you know, kind of seriously, working on their limit testing and going through, putting in the hours work. But when we kick back on over to Stormpoint for the latter half, we'll touch on it then. But we did see the map rotation, and I'd love to see the historical circles for North America and World's Edge in particular by map day, because some of those things have been interesting enough. I tweeted out earlier, and it was all of the circles that we witnessed from season 19 and season 20, and notably a lot of POIs found themselves empty. But as you look at match day 1, match day 2, it's like, oh, we don't even want to touch Skyhook. But wait what happens, Zephyr, because in EMEA, everything went Skyhook, but it's still relatively empty for North America.
Yeah, quite literally, for the folks at home, we've had 6 match day finishes in Skyhook across the board here, with only 1 currently in North America. I will say, though, in comparison to the other zones that we have had across regions here, it is a lot more balanced when it does come to NA. Across the region as a whole, seems like everything has gotten their due at least once or twice here. So, no elective standout, even if Dark Zero isn't getting their favors in Trials.
But as we look at our points of interest today, or POI for short, landmarks if you find yourself over in the APAC North region, the only potential contest that we will be witnessing is going to be Temper and Empire over at Countdown. Exit, though, who needs a strong day, claiming the entirety of Monument and Fragment, which should set themselves up for zones that, should they rotate to the north, maybe go above Survey Camp or even towards Climatizer, which we've gotten few and far between, but for the ones that even decide to pull down south.
It's a central position. That's as simple as it gets. You've got the entirety to yourself, and you've got the quickest rotates of any other roster. And the same can notably be said for Optic here. It's not quite as large, but for a team that everyone has been expecting to perform with a legacy to uphold, especially after their recent performance at Champs, they've got no excuses coming out of Harvester.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see a lot on the line for that team. And I know Glitter and crew handled it best, but it's only a matter of time, because with 6 games standing in your way to put yourself in the best possible situation for regional finals, you don't want to be one of those squads going into regional finals knowing that your only chance to hit LAN is winning match point.
Yeah, we had the chance to talk with Graceful earlier today, and he said it's no sweat, but for any one of these other players, it's definitely a tall drink of water.
As we go through the Legend Select, I'd imagine we're going to witness a lot more of the same. Caustic, Bloodhounds, Bangalores, for Disguised, if you're keeping an eye on them, which after their really solid performance in yesterday's group matchup, it's going to be designful, locking in that Wraith, which I, for one, big fan of Wraith. Does it make sense here in the meta? Doesn't matter, because it's all about how you use it, and Design's killing it. So let's get ready for match number 1.
Hey, you've got choices to behold, and Wraith can be easily one of them. Reject Winity over in APAC North, just one utilizing the Wraith as a pickup. So it is clearly viable as an option with its expedient rotations, and yes, some of those extra buffs that have come alongside it regarding Season 20. Is it completely meta? The average polls say no, but is it winnable? More than.
Oh, 100%. I mean, look, Disguise got their best performance, I think, that they've had throughout the entire split yesterday, and they've been inching their way closer and closer into that top 12, and they can put themselves even closer. And as we look at it, Empire landing No Name.
Interesting. Okay, so optimally, what could have been this start early against Temper will now switch up here, instead finding Luda caught out alone. That's a quick pickup.
Sentinels can't catch a break at this point, man.
I mean, that's capitalizing off the jump. I mean, you know for a fact Sentinels have been spacing out this early drop, and for a team that needs to catch on up, Empire currently set out in 26th right now. Every single point counts.
And it's quite interesting, right? Because I just had to take a moment, because Glitter earlier was like, will this region do something crazy? And to me, switching up your drop spot, electing to land on a split Sentinels is 100% that. You can see Empire rotating out towards Overlook. We get a good bit of where that first circle is going, and to no shock, we are going down to Stacks. Now, with that circle kind of circumventing the other first zone, a lot of teams are going to look to position themselves towards Stacks as opposed to Big Mod, in which we've seen endings pull both ways. I've seen it end on the building kind of just northeast of that ring console down in Stacks. So Moist looking like they've got some nice priority.
Solid start for them, of course, but this can be highly contested in terms of the setup. Optimally, you can get at least 12 teams contesting within the major Stacks area, which allows for a lot more pressure than what you could be potentially used to in some of these end zones here. And also, of course, on the opposite side of things, more real estate for some of those later rotating teams. So I would say optimally a great start for any one of our rosters if they are expedient enough on their rotations. For a team like Ape Game, they're quick enough to run away.
They are quick enough to get to blue Evos as well and carry on forward. Now, Zephyr, something that we witnessed during our EMEA broadcast is how quickly a lot of our teams were falling. We would go into kind of round 2 with maybe anywhere from 12 to 16 teams, where even some of the starting games on World's Edge looked similar to scrims. Do you think we will have a lot more teams up towards the end game here, specifically since we're not even getting that contest that we thought we would be getting.
Oh, absolutely. I think in terms of the difference of play optimally from North America, that it has been a lot slower of a region, especially when we talk about Split 1 as a whole here. So I don't think it particularly changes in any which given way going into our final match day here. You have a lot of the same kind of strong teams oriented to play this one out just as similarly, and that's going to in itself slow down how this works out here. But hey, FaZe, they're making good on some of those early claims. They're moving just as quickly as we would expect straight into mod to start things off.
You know, it's not bad, right? If you're landing Geyser, it's just a quick shout right through that choke point to move into Big Mod. There's an Evo cache nearby. You already have the armor benefit there. But for teams that are making their rotation still, it's going to be Elevate running into Temper near this tunnel on the outskirts. But with a Rolling Thunder to kind of maybe get out of dodge, the fight turns more into a stalemate, maybe potentially that armor check. Because if you go here early on, think of all the teams that are going to be making their way from the north, looking for ring information or maybe even a map scan. It's going to be a little tougher.
Surprisingly there, we see kind of just the dissuaded direction even of that play. It's, yeah, a Rolling Thunder, but as a whole, it's not even the full respect. You got two members playing on the opposite side there, and optimally, it does end up in their end, but it comes at the cost of not just Elevate's presence, but Dark Zero's as well.
Interesting, as Dark Zero kind of drops down from Skyhook, hitting that rotation through Landslide, which does offer Ring Console to get that information on where to go. Now, shouts to Elevate for not actually pushing fully through that tunnel, noticing that there is another team on the opposite side. It's not in our best interest. But for Disguised, let me just tell you, Timmy went absolutely nuclear in some of those games yesterday, and I would love to see them continue that momentum forward. But just out here north by the survey beacon, Design putting that Wraith to good use. Now we just have to keep an eye on him. Also, that's one of my favorite skins, by the way.
That's solid.
100%.
See this?
Ooh.
Pit of Returning on the end. Don't know if that's going to be the optimal angle that they want, but it's just enough to promote rotation if necessary. It does seem, though, that for Disguise, they've kind of laid stake and claim to this entire POI at this point here, so it's unnecessary entirely for Timmy. Maybe had a drop come through off of that zip, it could have been a potential chance for them. Even still, though, I like the aggression. You know, most teams, especially when it does come to this Wraith, see her as this kind of lowly portal late game, get me into a better spot, but you can make some really optimal moves, especially for forming some of these additional angles to give your team advantages, especially in the early game when most of these fights are just kind of straight 3v3s.
Well, it allows you to essentially scout out ahead. With that portal, you scout to a position, maybe you take some shots, you can grab an easy knock. It allows you to get your team back up there, or hey, no, if it doesn't go properly, you just pop back into the portal and say, all right, bye, my bad, try again later.
Aw, man, sorry.
Thought this was gonna be free, guess not. Exit though, backside of Big Mod. Looks like Furia has set themselves up. Now, also speaking of how yesterday performances was for teams that need to have those moments, his Watson, look, definitely so back in full form is Furia, but that end game maneuver for Watson in particular, I was screaming.
I've been waiting for the Furia comeback since we saw them in the early match day 2, where they were putting up the most damage differential out of the entire lobby here, even if they weren't walking away with the win. So we'll see if they're able to perform, maybe drop potentially another big W on the day up. But this is painful. Deja vu.
No, we were talking about this specifically yesterday in North America, the zone where 90% of the teams were playing from checkpoint, and then it bounces to Cito. Look at this, over the mountain into lava siphon, and Ape Gang just funneling through the tunnel to their demise, which makes even where Meat Lovers are playing from, just on that like kind of outside of launch site, respectable. Where are they gonna walk through? Are they gonna walk in and try to mirror Ape Gang, look for that early KP to avoid relegation, or do we just commit to the building outside by the geyser itself?
This is something that even with now the close not completely in through, that any one of these teams has a single idea about. And to be fair, looking at that zone, I would not either. And I'll be honest, I swear, if I see a single one of you on Twitter saying, oh, I knew that. I knew that from the get-go. I'm gonna fight you.
No, I was wrong.
I'm gonna fight
100% wrong. I was like, no, it's pull into stacks. It's that south building, and now Meat. Well, I like like where Meat's chilling.
Oh my gosh, that's a hard building to hold, though.
It really is. I call it the
if
death
it's
building.
free. Oh yeah, completely. I mean, that's literally an open air tomb here for most rosters. But maybe potentially the kind of slow rotations will give them the opportunity to out survive this kind of positioning. Because here's the thing: you're going to get so many rosters trying to fight their way out of the East. It's going to be a bloodbath.
That is to put it lightly, and this goes to show you the importance of if you have the capability to play for that ring 3 information similar to what Meat has done, it allows them to put themselves in the best position. Now, there are teams that are still making their way into zone. I would imagine Dark Zero is going to have the opportunity because they're still up north. They never left kind of to go to zone just yet. You have to get that information. I'm keeping my eyes on Optic. You can see EEC out in the distance towards Lava Siphon, even Elevate. Now, granted, that ring console that will typically spawn in Lava Siphon, I would imagine that teams are gonna look to try and gatekeep that a little bit if it's there. I can't necessarily see right now. I'm just the odds. It's always there.
We'll see how it ends up, but this particular position is the one that I want to talk about. Getting up to this height on Lava Siphon and being the sole remaining team to compete for that position over towards the east. That can be really good for your late game exchanges here, especially if our zone continues to cater down to where we saw Meat Lovers before. That level of high ground can provide an advantage here, and you can see it's currently a bit of a mix-up. Elevate, of course, EEC in play, and now Dark Zero coming up right behind Sentinels just after they get these revives back up. They're potentially on their way out.
And we just lost over Sleepers in the midst, RKN kind of locking in some of those perks and just a nade spam forward, trying to hold out Dark Zero the best that they can. But with the ring at the back and the double time activating, throwing you straight into the rock, it is a tough position to maneuver around. And you've got teams like EEC that are going to be the benefactors of this skirmish between Sentinels and DZ. Trades on both sides. EEC, they're using this as a time to, no, we're rotating. We're just gonna leave the chaos and the choke alone.
I really like that, though, from EC. They had position early in the zone that they're looking to play for, and they say, you know, we've got time. The spacing's nice. No one's really pressuring us right now. Let's see if we can pick up some early KP here. For Xset, though, they've got the furthest distance to cover. Let's see how they'll plan out this wild rotation.
30.
Push.
Crane's in my way.
60, 61.
Dead, got him.
Oh,
Nice.
nice.
This.
Look inside, look inside, look inside.
Yeah, there's a constant trap right here. Careful.
Yep.
There's another one. Can you break that? I'm scanning 3. Scanning 3.
Okay.
A lot of barrels here.
We move west on me.
Scanning.
Together.
Knox inside, careful. They're popping dog. They might try to fight.
Okay. We should start moving though. We should keep moving. Keep moving. Keep moving. Keep moving. Get ahead of this. Get ahead of this. Come on.
They're just killing barrels for no reason.
Yep. Cells on me. RV
I'm on
looks
scan.
open.
I'm on scan.
RV's just open.
In there. Okay.
Smoking you?
I'm getting shot in the back.
Yep. Smoking you again?
I'm gonna stop.
Yep.
I'm selling here.
They wasted blood on the rotate in. We could just play for this for free. They're close.
Yeah,
Close.
I'm not with you yet.
102 on blood on fucking ring console.
I'm crossing.
We need to kill this team.
Yeah.
Barreling. I'm gonna play inside trailer.
Yep. Caustic 50. Double blue.
Dude, show my back.
Yep.
Okay.
I've scanned 8.
Landing to our north. Landing to our north. He's in that
Southeast trailer.
coin.
Left to right.
No scan yet. No scan yet.
Okay. They're on my left.
Standing.
We want to slide in. We want to slide in. Go west. Go underneath.
On this rock. On this rock.
Okay.
Southwest.
I'm smoking that. We need to fight in west.
Okay. I'm popping bottle.
Yep. Just get in. Prio getting in. Slide in. Quick. Slide in.
Outside him. I'm batting here.
You have to slide in.
Right.
Yep.
Whole team.
Safe on me.
I'm low ground.
Yep. We need help, Koi. I need a bat. Broke one.
Blood.
West. Put up.
I'm dead.
Bring me. Sunny dear. I'm in your knock. Hold your knock.
The blood is low. We got console loaded. I have to back up. I can't play
Okay,
here.
you're good.
This is not okay. The collapse on this side of the zone will not allow Xset to live any further. Xset Reset falls, Legacy falls, Moist falls, Dark Zero loses Jen Burton and are now down to a duo. But if they can clear their back and move on to that bridge that Optic has such a chokehold on, but the job's not done. FaZe have taken space on the low ground. Yes, they don't have that armor's advance, but what they do have is all of their players up. Sentinels can't catch a break. They get a little bit of reprieve after DZ move, and now we're just barricading forward.
5 hostiles detected here, a wealth of potential fighting to happen for Sentinels. They've made their best defense, but in the smoke, they'll find their cover. For RKN is the stick to behold here as Empire goes down. EEC on the outside, Elevate still in similar positions. For the Sentinels, from being punished and choked to now over in the building, this has been the come up of a lifetime.
Furia went down earlier in the midst of the chaos, and well, now Ape Gang, they went into the tunnel early on thinking we were pulling to stacks and we're trying to make an exit. For anything at this point, the fact that Meat has held on to this building, no one's been able to cross into the open to even try and take it because Optic is holding bridge and now Sentinels have moved into the top of Lava Siphon. Here goes the scan, the double time will be activated and it's pushing them straight into the low ground where so many teams can just take a peek and shoot fish in a barrel, or Sentinels for this matter.
The Sentinel fish, a wild variant, but down below, they'll swim through the deeps to hopefully find something, and instead, they'll find predators galore here stuck behind the pillar. They'll start with some great damage, though.
Hey, look, if you're gonna do it, you gotta do it to it. I see Luda down in the midst just trying to reposition, and DZ eventually swings straight on to FaZe, which pushes them into the line of sight from Complexity. Luda able to capitalize on a few of those, and it's a lone Panders trying so hard to find any bit of placement points at the matter for 7 eliminations on Sentinels. Where are the Sentinel haters at now?
Taking advantage of what might be the next elimination for them. Panders now done and dusted. 8 KP for this roster, ballooning their scoreline. Even if they're to go down now, they're putting up point totals that are going to be far and beyond the rest here. For Disguise, though, they're more than happy to shoot a different kind of fish in a barrel, a fish in a box, a death, a casket, a basket, and potentially, yes, the end of the Meat Lovers.
Perfect. Zephyr's a wrapper now, and we're continuing on the push straight into Meat. They have been torched down to 7 squads. DSG like looking so freaking good based off their momentum. You know, this is the team that used to only get a win game number 6, and you know, the growth is here. The growth is here.
I don't know what kind of curses we put upon these teams, but these spells, we've got to find a different way to cook them. For 9 Lives, they've been a great pickup thus far, but finally challenges to boot our top 8 roster, that of Elevate here. Dynasty will surprisingly make their way out successfully over across the wall, and hopefully not down below. Not down below. Okay, down below.
Look, it's a pretty gross zone, and it does have to be played from the low ground, and we will have to keep moving forward, not in here. And sure, there's a little bit of a replicator in front of you, but it's not going to offer much reprieve. DSG, they're going to be your heavy hitters down below. Sentinels on the ground as well. EEC start their rotation in, and well, to be frank, Optic has to jump.
I really like this position from Disguised at the end of the day. It's going to be them who find that next elimination onto 9 Lives. That clears out their backside completely here. The rest of our rosters, except for Elevate, they're kind of playing around this bridge area, all to drop here shortly.
Ooh. RKN looking a little like trolls under the bridge. They need to keep very aware that Optic is on their high ground. And wherever Optic enters, we know you have to couple it alongside the ultimates. And here we go. The ultimate wrap, we're still able to maintain just a sliver. But I'm curious, does Dropped have any smokes available to hide them out? Elevate do fall. That's gonna be at the hands of EEC. And with Skittle, Poppin' Dog, he's able not to elongate it, but it just works enough to get some information.
That is an immaculate move from Optic here to find space where there is none, to take advantage of the forced positioning by Elevate and to take it away. It still doesn't sort of figure out the final moments for them, but even the single position is enough to bode well here. You gotta be careful though. It is going to be that drop onto EEC they'll worry about, and more importantly, Sentinels, who will be out of cover here in just a moment.
It's tough, right? Drop doesn't have ult. I don't see any ult excels. Maybe we can get one grabbed, but they likely won't have that. Probably not going to have caustic ult for endgame as well. So you start thinking about your pathing, because you're going to be one of the first teams required to move. Putting pressure straight towards Sentinels, who are going to go straight into the open here. And that'll be tough. Gonna have to really rely on Bangalore. But the thing is, I'm sure they know via the scans that EEC is just tucked in underneath them, waiting for them to bounce off into the barrels.
Sentinels make the move they have to do across the rock here to shore that distance. Now with Optic dropping down, EEC the next to go. Sentinels should follow suit very quickly, and it should be Disguised who comes in to clean this one up.
EEC grabs a knock as well. Sentinels claiming some. Optic the first team to fall in the end game, and now it allows Sentinels to try and put some pressure onto EEC, but RKN, we've got to hit those shots. These painting outlines. EEC falls because Disguise gets into the mix, and now you've got enemy on the caustic. Barrel crawling forward. A Wraith play in the hands of Designful. He portals back. Oh, it's just the start.
Teammates down on the other end from the other side of zone, though. A solid rotation finds Disguised coming out on top of it all.
Look, they're not just your Game 6 winners. They came here to play. They had such a journey to get to champs when it came to that LAN, and look, they want to do it again.
I gotta give credit where it's due. Disguised perfection in terms of delivering some of those final punches, even with Sentinels turning the tides there. What was expected to be potentially a rotation in, some damage down, and even a little bit of a return on them that could have put them in worse wear. They slowed their roll, they stopped what they were doing, let the fights collapse. At some point picked up that final KP, but in the end, we're in such a good place of health that it truly was a raw 3v3 between the two rosters.
It really was, and I love how we took the time at the start of map number 1 to kind of talk about Designful on Wraith, and then he goes on to put on a performance like this, showcasing why it just works so well for their team legend composition. The synergizing of it, everything is working to perfection, and it was working for Reject Winity in APAC North as well. It's to no avail. Of course it's going to work here.
I don't know if we can make that kind of leap.
No, I'm doing it.
For Design, I like the fact that we get to see the aggressive tendencies of Wraith more than anything. That kind of portal play, that is something that can absolutely put you, turn you into dust, grind you to the bone, but Design makes it work. And it's a lot of really good LOS analysis, seeing where these teams are focusing, applying pressure where the rest of Disguised isn't, is a great way to take advantage of
matchup for map number 1, and if that's what's in store for our 6-game series today to completely finish off our regular season, let the circle pull odds be ever in your favor. We're gonna cut to a quick break, and when we come back, you'll see map number 2.
Welcome back to the Apex Legends Global Series. We're match number 1 now in the books for NA, and that one was a doozy. That zone, Zephyr, was painful, like you guys were talking about before we went to that break. Watching everybody guess Big Mod and Stacks, and then the mass exodus to try and get to where it actually was.
And that's why I will say it is even more impressive that teams like Sentinels, Optic, and Disguised are able to fight and work their way into a winning position, because for the majority of our rosters, they were stuck on the other side of nothing.
I don't even know if we can hype Sentinels' adaptability in that scenario up enough, because they start off with Luda getting caught out right away. They lose Luda, I think it goes to Empire, then they have to res him, right? Then they're trying to rotate and they lose Luda again when they're stuck in that choke with DZ and EEC. Have to res Luda again. They drop down and try to rotate somewhere and swing straight into complexity. Like, they just overcame obstacle after obstacle to have such a strong performance to kick off the day. And they were one of the teams that needed it.
It is literally as bad as it could have gotten. I mean, if you're able to eclipse that kind of performance, I am excited to see what exists in the Sentinels tank today, because at 21st with 40 points, that's not the type of experience you would expect to see on a day 9.
Well, I'm assuming we won't see them split this time around. They'll probably just exist over an overlook a little bit more safely, and we'll see what the rest of the teams have in store for us, as well as we are starting to get loaded in for match number 2. And also we'll see if a lot of the teams that we saw at the bottom, which are some of our top teams overall, are able to bring it back. But before we do that, it's time to start looking at this contest. Temper going out early last time around. They don't want to repeat that.
This is crazy. We get the switch up back to this contest with Empire after what was the early take against Sentinels. Ends up just into the straight 50-50.
All right, trying to get some angles here on behalf of Temper Advent. Trying to do some damage to the Spitfire. Not a lot of ammo left in that reserve, though, so gonna have to try and figure out a better way to go for this fight here. Empire just bunkering down with these barrels, hoping it'll buy them a little bit of time to figure out when they want to make their move here. They might be at an ammo advantage as well, so this is the moment to make the push.
Coming up outside of the boxes, though, it is a struggle and a half here. I like Avexy's position on the stairwell, playing off of the heady, able to find Audavant there, but Cloaked and Spades are more than healthy to come through and send these boys home in 20th.
Well fought by Temper. And now they'll own Countdown for a little bit here. We'll have to see if anybody tries to peek around. That works in their favor to an extent here too, as we get to take a look at this zone now. 9 Lies, Ape Gang, Oversleepers, DZ, EEC, everybody probably very excited about the opportunity that has now presented itself.
This is absolutely huge. Once again, for some of our bottomed out rosters here, they've got first pickings, and more notably than that, Landslide, Countdown, and Fissure all have scan available here. So they will not only get that early information, but even if they're able to stay there, they'll be able to find potentially more regarding our Zone 3. The one misnomer, it is going to be Optic already arriving to the edge of that lava fissure. Might be tailing tail against Ape Gang.
Listen, they saw where it was going to go, and they hightailed straight out of Harvester to try and get in there nice and early. They don't want to be caught in another one of those aggressive zone shift situations if they can prevent it. We're seeing Furia here doing a little bit of damage onto Legacy. Backing off, though. They don't want to take such an early engagement as we now look back at Optic, who have moved in and claimed this building here on the... Oh! That's an aggressive fly-in from Complexity.
They're lucky it's early, but it's still going to come at the cost of a little bit of health here. Lou, he's got to find somewhere to go. Skittlecake's taking advantage, and that is almost immediately picked up in return there. Monsoon left as a solo dolo member, and Optic, they say, well, with the Digi in hand and a quick Mastiff or two, we'll send you out in the smoke.
Optic Gaming are not messing around. They saw an opportunity to clear out Complexity. Had a little bit of help with some crossfire there, but not allowing a Complexity to even try to get a little bit of real estate in Lava Fissure. So that's huge as far as keeping people away from Optic's position for now. Checking back in with Furia as well. We've seen some Madness taking some damage here. Looks like they are not safe from whatever engagement we saw them going back and forth with before.
Really taking their time here, holding things out fairly, I would say, I mean, not aggressively, but just really tempered in terms of the expectations. They'll finally pull the trigger. Keon taking to the skies here on this Valkyrie, a little bit of that extra height in play, and they'll get the information that goes alongside it, but in the end, it is the complete removal from that fight for both parties here. And for Furia, it's the start of a larger rotation at hand.
Definitely a safe play from them, starting to make that movement now. We also saw in the background side Evolution taking that balloon and going for their rotation as well, as we check in while they hit this scan, get themselves some more information as well as those additional Evo points. So this will be a nice little stopping point here for Euris and Co. And they have a little bit of an opportunity to get the loot right now. They're right on the edge of that next circle, so they can kind of take their time and play this one slow.
It is a question, though, especially with so many of our teams starting to show face. We talk about Dark Zero. They've made their quick rotation, but I do want to point out some of that northern Countdown Skyhook ends. If our zone is to kind of favor where we're stereotypically looking at, right there on the outskirts of Lava Fissure in between that and Countdown, teams are setting themselves up for that nice slide in out of Countdown. Squads like Elevate and more here, and potentially Dark Zero actually getting maybe a little bit of a further position in zone if they can land a drop.
Great angle for Dark Zero here. Putting in some work with that Nemesis. They're going to try and hold this edge building for as long as possible, but I believe it's Elevate that's trying to wrap around on the western edge of this circle. You can see them off in the distance looking to move in, and they're also existing right next to so many of these other teams trying to hold down position in Lava Fissure. Like you're saying, Zephyr, you can see how many squads are anticipating where it's going to go. I need to know where it goes next. I can't. After the first match, I don't know anything anymore.
We're all struggling behind the scenes here. We place our bets, but we cry just as much the same. And the crazy thing is, for teams like Furia, Legacy, Moist, SSG, some of these harder hitting rosters who are a little bit quicker, doesn't quite. This I won't say it's as bad, but it is pretty nasty that it is nowhere within Lava Fissure.
You know, Exa is celebrating right now, though. They have countdown all to themselves. Not for long. Everyone's going to start moving in, but Exa at least have found themselves an early spot in that next zone. You see Sentinels flying in on the map and SSG right on that northern cusp of the next ring as well. So a few teams will be safe, but will those teams that planned for Lava Fissure start trying to make a move early, or will they still play it? Because they're not that far off from where it did shift to, like you were saying.
This is really hard too, because countdown in literally half a second here is about to fill up with a lot of great teams holding the only playable positions. And the best part about those positions, they pretty much all have great sight lines on any one of these Lava Fissure rotations. So even as good as what might be open here, you've got seconds to spare before your goose becomes cooked here in these next and further ring closes.
Especially because where a lot of those teams have to rotate from is just through chokes and into other teams from that western side if they want to get into countdown, unless they decide to make the choice now and go early and go for a little bit of a longer wrap. As we now get to see FaZe, a team that just flew in from the eastern side of the map. They have made it in early as well to countdown, so they'll have a little bit of space that they can work with. And Snipe Down already on red. They're set up very nicely as a squad bow check in the hand of Panders. I mean, FaZe look good.
That's really early too in terms of the Evo timings, kind of getting that online expediently, especially not having things like a lifeline or the PvE objectives when it comes to, say, you know, Storm Point. That's a really good advantage. The only problem is they're likely to be holding that position for quite some time, and that will equalize as our clock ticks on.
Just goes to show how important the pathing is. They will have done a good job coming over from that geyser side of the map. So FaZe have set themselves up well, but DSG also looking very comfortable. Everybody at least in purple as they're starting to make their push into somewhere safe. They know that there is a team behind them. It's Legacy looking down at DSG on those tracks, trying to deal a little bit of poke damage and be annoying. See if they can maybe catch anyone on DSG out. Not a whole lot available, as Legacy also need to continue their route into the next circle.
Now, this is the struggle of that edge play. If you're kind of working your way in from the south here, in comparison to what we saw from FaZe, who gets the Lord and Glory of Countdown being relatively open, fighting towards this Lava Fissure kind of Mirage à Trois choke, that's something that can be highly punished. Furia going to be the third of our 4 rosters on the outskirts now, who also finds themselves potentially happy positioning. They, though, gonna have to take to the outside of all places here.
Watson being lucky that he didn't go down from all the damage that they received while they were making that rotation. Now you've got that Bangalore ult coming through as well. Really hoping to see if they can clean up that kill, but his Watson's at least healed up, and now you're seeing those barrels going down so they can create a little bit of space for themselves. Definitely not ideal that they're probably a little bit past where they want it to be, but this will also open up the opportunity for them to really babysit these chokes. There's potential for Elevate to push through on one side, could give an opportunity for Furia to take a fight there, and then they also do at least have a little bit of vision on everything going down inside of Countdown.
This is a real struggle, and here it goes. That's the truth revealed. You almost saw the moment from Ape Gang there, literally in perspective. We gotta like roll that clip back. You see the jump that goes, oh, yeah, it's not going there. As a result, we'll see how it ends up here in the end for so many of these rosters who now officially know for a fact that they've got to make their amends, make their moves, because that ain't where Zone's going.
Did Tiff do this?
Whoa!
Sentinels now, after having such a tough match one that they continued to succeed in regardless of what was thrown at them, now find themselves in a really, really strong position looking at the next zone shift exit. Also right on the inside of that, being able to hold a little bit of space. Everybody else looking to decide what to do. And this is where it's, you know, kind of a catch-22 here, Zephyr. Is it good that they're in there early, or now is it worse because they have to fend off everybody else pushing in, or is it bad to try to come in late and try to push in? This is going to be tough as soon as everybody has to start making these decisions on where to go and when to do it.
At least for them, the true only option, or at least the only obstacle, is Disguise there, which is a challenge that they lost in game 1, but have now been given the opportunity to either get their revenge or potentially lay down and bear here. For the rest of our teams, such as Dark Zero, what was a start out towards Trials is now, well, hopefully the glory of an evac. Gonna see if they can find anywhere to land. I know Countdown's a little bit open, but it ain't that much.
All right, it's the moment, it's the time our teams have been trying to avoid. Everyone's starting to make a move in. We saw DZ, or heard DZ fly in. Everyone else starting to make a push here. Temper, one of those teams that's in the choke right at the top side of Lava Fisher, going towards Countdown, waiting to see who's coming through here. Ape Gang also keeping their eyes on some of these teams pushing their way through. They've got a little bit of space to work with here if they want to try and get some KP on the board. Meanwhile, you can see things starting to pop off in that kill feed. EEC down there on the low ground. Ape Gang trying to clean up what they can. You've got DZ in the kill feed. Evolution going down. Zephyr, this is going to be an absolute mess.
Optic from the south dropped. Done and dusted. Ape Gang, they've been able to make for short recovery out here towards the edge, but they themselves even trying to finish off their own fights here to boot. They'll pick up that full white, but from behind, just above them, they'll pick up just as much damage as 9 Lives goes down, and Temper are more than happy to work with these Eds.
This is what Temper was hoping for. This is why they stayed in their building as long as they did, trying to see if they can catch people making this late push through into the Countdown area. It's proving to work out well for them right now. Cloaked still in the Beast of the Hunt, trying to do a little bit more damage before it runs out. Nice shield crack there. Scans still give a little bit more information so they know there's at least one more team behind them. That's going to be Oversleepers looking the way of Temper. But Temper kind of was just able to overlook everybody and not have to take too much damage in response for it. They've done a good job holding that choke. Meanwhile, Furia, who flew in earlier, later, we said they might have the potential to have a fight here in this choke. It is Elevate who did push through, and they are fighting Furia, but now Keon is down and Furia have to back off.
They'll back off, but they'll find themselves really out in the open there. That's going to be something that, especially off of this next zone close, I don't know if they manage to survive, and it'll start even just early as now. SSG finding all of them out there now down in the dirt to our top 13 remaining here. Most of our countdown's still playable.
Playable for the absolute massacre that is about to go down as everyone continues to move towards what is going to be the final circle, just in absolute wide open space. I don't even know how some of these squads are going to handle this. You see Exit, you've got FaZe, Dark Zero, Ape Gang, Elevate, all on top of each other on the one side of things. You've got Meat Lovers pushing in now on the low ground as well, trying to see if they can maybe clean up on some of the action that's happening. Tech coming through with some damage there from the Havoc. They've got a little bit of space they can work with right now, but as soon as those shots go down, everybody looks their way.
FaZe eliminated. Ape Gang done here. Meat Lovers on the other side, taking advantage of the minor cover they have to try to play out to boot. For Elevate, who was a full 3 on the eastern side of zone, they don't even survive the exchange. Now, Disguised, trying to play for some of those portals like we saw from Designful last game, in the end, isn't quite as successful. But Timmy from the top, he'll still find the ordinances that be.
If Disguise can win this fight with Meat Lovers, though, it'll set them up really well. The portal being one of the few things that they can actually use their advantage in the final circle. Design does get knocked, is able to go back at least in the portal, try and see if he can maybe put himself in a better spot for that res. Timmy doing a little bit of cover fire and everyone taking some damage here. Gonna see if he can maybe get that bat off before anybody tries to push him, make a move. Meanwhile, Sentinel's watching it all go down, seeing if there's an opportunity for them to clean up on this fight.
This time around, too, there is no Wraith portal to truly work with. Now the gas doing most of the work here. RKN's Nox gas grenade continuing to tick and talk. Disguise potential fate. You'll see they will rotate out, but this is a great chunk of defense that gives them the slow play on this building. Now, the question is, can they compete for the eastern side? Can they take away SSG's position?
Not to mention, you can also see Legacy on that low ground right under where Sentinels are. Another team that they'll potentially have to keep their eyes on. Disguise looking towards Sentinels as well. As the zone is starting to shrink, everyone now needs to move into an area where it is absolutely no cover. So these fights are going to mean everything for these teams if they can manage to clean these up before they get to those final moments. Disguise trying to do just that, knowing Sentinels are right to their right side. Some shots coming in, being exchanged back and forth. Exit, though, has been doing a fantastic job holding the western side this whole time.
It's really good, and it's going to set them up to just burn through the Sentinels over across the height there. They're able to pull away from the Nox gas and keep this one alive. As tedious as it is from behind the box, the lose out and cover, but that is the go button that XSET wants here to send Sentinels out.
That is massive. That's going to help XSET a lot, clearing out the side, but Legacy are still on the low ground, and out of nowhere, Moist are coming in from the northern side of things. I don't know when they got there, but this is a huge opportunity for Moist to start shooting some of these squads on these off angles. No one was even looking their way.
This is just absurd. For Moist starting out in Skyhook, they delay their action as much as they can to let the game do the work for them. SSG looking for any kind of cover, lands right in the line of sight of MT and more. For Moist, they'll pick up that wipe, and I'll tell you what, they still have utility. Nox gas, grenade, everything and more. This is the perfect setup for their end game.
This is huge for Moist now in a straight up 3v3 against Legacy, but an injured Legacy.
There it is.
The opportunity for Moist to make the push, dump the full kit onto Legacy. It's just going to take a little bit of damage here on behalf of Moist before they're able to clean up match number 2. Huge performance for Moist.
They say you should worry about the ones who lie in wait here. For the likes of Moist, they don't get into the action truly whatsoever until we talk about that Zone 5. They are out in Skyhook. They had been within that western building for what felt like the entirety of that game. And even when we saw the deeper rotations from teams like Furia, like SSG, they bided their time. They did absolutely nothing. It was not until the Sentinels x XSET fight that they walked up that hill for free, eliminated what was a weak XSET, and set themselves up for their best chances yet.
And that's why I was talking about when we saw another aggressive zone shift, especially into an area that was just wide open playing ground. You can't win in those situations, right? Because Sentinels got in there so early and they were able to hold on to their position for a really long time. But in the end, it was the team that came in last. It was the team that slow played it, played that edge and waited until they could really come and clean up all of the other chaos that had been happening with the teams that tried to get into Countdown to hold down some real estate. I mean, Moist has to come from the southeast side of the map to wrap all the way up and towards Skyhook and then wait for everybody else to fight, to come in at the last second to clean up that match. Very patiently well played by Moist.
Still, though, even if we do see the massive turnaround of another zone here on World's Edge, we do get a lot of resurgence
But we still have many more matches on the day. One more left on World's Edge. Before we get to match number 3, we'll send it to a short break. And when we return, more World's Edge action.
Welcome back to the Apex Legends Global Series, where we're just out here together, all trying to solve that trivia. Zephyr, though, did beat me in, at least 2 of them.
It's not about the winning or losing of trivia. It's about having the good of a times.
It's about the odds of the circle pools. Now, as we look at the quick map rotations, DSG with their 1 win in match number 1, and Moist to follow suit in match 2 with our final map on World's Edge. What is happening? Because while I was behind the scenes of match number 2, I'm like spamming these gifs inside of the Showcom channel. It's like, don't mind me. They can't keep getting away with this. They can't.
Surprise, we're moving to Storm Point. We've said, you know what, World's Edge today is just weird.
It's shocked. We go again later.
We ain't dealing with that. Not today. Put me on a different map, but sadly, if it ain't my ALGS, so we will see this one last time here for World's Edge. Hopefully something that's a bit more well-known, but credit where it is due. We've seen some of these rosters do a great job of adjusting to the chaos.
100%. If we're adjusting to the chaos, let us go Skyhook. Let us adjust. Let it happen. We have that relatively central plane line that's going horizontal, and who knows where we're going to be moving to. Only time will tell. But the teams that land Geyser, Overlook, Sentinels, you're going to get your shots out first. Feet on the ground to start working towards those Evo leveling up, and looks like we're still getting a run at that Empire v Temper this time.
We say again, but it was a different start to the day here. So for Empire, we'll see if they can come out on top. Last time they weren't quite set up and got stuck on the interior here. This time around, Temper's doing already their work at pressuring barrel upon barrel on the other side, working their way in. They've caught out one alone.
Advent goes down, and now Cloaked moves in with the RE45, but that Bloodhound's got hands.
Oh no!
And the reload. Oh, it's a Caustic Man, and he's just fists of fury coming forth, and with a 30-30, we know how that hipfire goes, and in a 1v2 situation, it's gonna be a little tough to make this happen, but we do reposition accordingly. Even with the 30-30 nerfs that have come through, it can still do wonders, considering Silence got 7 bullets and a dream, and a gas trap here. We get out of that back on their feet. The grav lift to block the door won't be enough. Ooh.
Cloaked still alive on the outside. That's the information they need. But this is okay. Well,
It's over.
it's over.
It ain't over till it's over. And DZ, well, here we are. The scan comes through, and at this point, if you're Empire, if you're Temper, you see that scan and you're like, oh my God, Dark Zero's here.
Oh no. We'll see if they'll land any one of these shots. It seems like the rats have scurried far and away from this position. And for Dark Zero, they're not actually even too interested to come and collapse. But hey, big surprises for both of these teams. Neither get to loot countdown, and both of them survive.
Yeah, but if you're running out into the open terrain towards landslide, you have 0 ammo to fend off if anything happens, and we're not able to recover the banner of Cloaked, and you're not going to be able to get that, but at least you do look in better shape than Empire. And Ape Gang, well, they found themselves with relatively free shots.
Someone out there is going to get this. This just reminds me of that one scene from The Jackal where you've got Jack Black running in the field trying to survive. And, well, all right, much luck for him there. We'll take a look at our zone as we pull away up towards the northeast. This has got to be just standard. We got Grandma's House available, that respawn original beacon with the spire where Complexity are playing. That's the stereotypical end here. We get a little bit of that high, the dance around the pillar. I mean, that should be the finish.
Look, it's not Skyhook, but I'll take it. And also the way I look at it, there's not enough of that tower in Skyhook kind of nearby Grandma's house in that choke for me to say it's pulling there. But you know what? Jesus, take the wheel.
There's
like, I don't know at this point. I don't know.
Confident. Let's go with confidence. Survey camp. There's not enough of the northeast. There's not enough of the tower towards the northwest, right? We got heavy presence towards center. You know what? Let's settle on our call and we'll let the game decide.
Perfect. My call is going to be moving towards the choke point that comes out of Skyhook. It's going to pull back to that.
Okay, that's not a bad one. I'm going to go towards the eastern side. Go to east of the train line just ahead of that.
I like it.
We shake hands. We agree. Signed. Done.
Whoop. Sure. Done. We'll see what happens. All right. Optic here making their way towards Harvester where Furia is. Scan comes through. No hostiles. All is good in today's match of World's Edge.
Ain't good. There's a lot wrong, but ultimately, well, they'll keep on moving here. Notably, I do want to point out that Empire finds their way back to Temper at some point in some way, and it's literally back in countdown.
It's okay. Dark Zero went back to Skyhook. Maybe we'll get another round 2.
That is absurd to me. The fact that both of these rosters ran for the hills, noticed that Dark Zero said, okay, whatever. And then both of them made their way back. This time around, it was Empire leading before. They are going to be the ones to do it again. And thankfully, take advantage of a little bit of that loot, but they've got another drop right in front of them, just landing.
Oh, look, to no avail. We've got another team. It's not Dark Zeros. It's 9 Lives this time, making their way to play. Spoiler, you do see Spades kind of out on that northern side trying to kind of disengage. Not sure if we've recovered any banners, but for Empire, you know, it's only a matter of time. The reset did come through, but Avexi is still about half flesh. Needs to restock up on those white heals. And I'm not even sure at this point if 9 Lives will push into this. Maybe just show some presence and kind of keep moving on.
It's been a good start for them, too, for 9 Lives. I want to point that out for a team that is been on the bottom end. They're currently within our top 7 right now. And so for them currently hosting a position just outside of that top 20 for those regional finals, if they maintain where they are currently at, they will advance and they will be able to play our next match day. Wow.
That's true. Well, let's look at the lay of land. E8, they're assuming survey camp. They're going to play from survey camp, and I love the building that they've chosen. SSG is kind of outside, playing split throughout Climatizer. You can see that one is potentially dropping all the way back where a ring console was. Will they get that third zone information to be able to make a call on that, to give them that extra boast of confidence considering how the first 2 games went?
I actually really like that, too, because ultimately, especially with how these zones have been pulling, there's been a lot of time to figure things out here. With our final ticks on this zone, it does seem to be being at least more similarly to what we usually expect towards the upper end here. So no difference towards what any one of our teams have set themselves up here. So I do look towards teams Ape Gang, Elevate, Oversleepers, Complexity doing a great job, but as a result of the first 2 games, it has left most of these rosters actually quite slow on the rotation because they've learned, well, I guess a lesson or 2.
Yeah, you really don't blame them. Typically, if DZ was reading this early on, they would be playing from the tunnel. That's where I've seen a lot of their rotations go through on similar zones. Elevate, well, they land survey. They don't have far to go. Disguised kind of wrapping up from thermal station, making their way towards lava fissure. And yeah, that's going to be a great way to get some good early KP, specifically because Temper was on the reset. So we find out event. We eliminate him. The scan comes through as no hostiles. The question is, where's the rest of them?
Separated back will have to foot their way through the zone to make the best of surviving here. Speaking of surviving, looks like out below, Evolution struggling. They've got a bit of a fight between them, Moist, Furia, and Legacy all competing upstairs. And as a result, they might be able to survive for a bit longer, but once these rotations come through, they could get spotted out.
They most definitely could. And Moist, continuing on from a map 2 victory, still have a long way to go, but all of the teams collapsing here. Legacy take out Evolution, but this is where you know there's another squad. Double chime coming through and a good smoke, but with this gold knockdown, it's gonna make this reset here onto Niazul a lot more simpler.
That is my satisfaction. That right there, that is my roam of Apex. And for the likes of Legacy, they're more than happy for that kind of belief. At least now, Moist, Furia, and them will all literally walk away from that choke. But I will say, A1's finding Luda down doesn't bode well for Sentinels. That is something that we've seen time in, time out again. So I won't count Sentinels out yet, but it has made it difficult.
True. And just like that, we call it. We know this is where DZ plays from for similar zones, and they take their tried and true position, moving back towards Epicenter. A lot of teams maybe playing for that map scan have found themselves scurrying. We just saw Luda go down, so now still in that 2. Temper, elsewhere, falls at the hands of DSG. But we've got teams like FaZe, Xset, and SSG just around here, who will have to cross through each other to go ever so towards the direction of Survey Camp.
This is really hard for Sentinels because they're guaranteed to lose out on Luda here this time around, with Xset playing a really advantageous height for this endgame. It's a great transition over towards that western side of Epicenter if our zone does kind of parallel its way out there. So unlikely that they get that kind of recovery. And for 9 Lives, it doesn't look like they might be getting much of one either here. Truck isn't exactly the best shots that you can potentially find or land, but we'll see. Nasty gonna go for the stick. Hope on the coverage.
It's not gonna be too bad, but we do get all 3 back on their feet. Empire bringing back the mobile respawn, and hey, we're going straight in. Hammer points on the RE45, but the shield cracked on the horizon. It's only a matter of time, but with the ring at your back, we must keep moving forward. Now, granted, on that round 2, a nice grab lift to boost you over that fence, and this is a really nice push by 9 Lives.
All they have to do is recover the remnants there of Empire, but for DSG, who've been playing on the outskirts of zone, like we said, it's the perfect opportunity for them to rear their head in the action. Out from afar, those 30-30s and M-locks ringing true will find easy damage down, drop a couple ordinances, and they'll seal this.
Empire eliminated, man. DSG, they showed face, but look who's lurking. Look at Noct. Chilling. The skin blends in with the mountains. Looks like a man from the north. Yeah, just a little bow check action.
Bow check. I'm gonna every time now. Every single arrow.
Just every shot.
I will get fired. No.
Maybe. Nah. But for the lay of the land here, DSG, they just want to.
Oh my gosh.
They want to give them no chance to reset and design. You know, hey, let's do it. We talked about the aggression earlier, and we're gonna make it happen. Some hit fires to boot, and goodbye 9 Lives, and Design's your new kill leader.
It's the best you can ask for. I mean, it is some of the best play we have seen out of Disguised in recent days of performance, and truly, to be honest, that's not much of a further achievement. They have been looking good all split long here, but the unbridled pushing from the edge has really evolved over this split. They've gone from one of those better rosters to probably one of now the best edge players in all of North America.
And honestly, big shouts to DSG, the org as a whole. We know that Disguised Toast pulls watch parties for the org, and honestly, Moist, Critical himself, big fan of the Apex team. Let's go ahead and jump into a listen to see what they're up to.
Come to me. I bang out of them. No, team above.
Coming down. Call's team above us. Trying to live.
I'm trying to get to here, a guild. On me.
Yeah,
on me is safe, on me is safe, on me is safe.
I'm batting on me.
Did I just get landed on? I don't even know.
No, got landed over here.
We're really safe here.
Yeah, just get traps down.
Down the hill.
Down. They're in where I died.
They're in below us.
We're like really safe here. We should have just slammed here.
Yeah,
Above us.
on your head.
I'm peeking.
No.
No.
It's okay. Okay, guild. Okay.
Chill. Just keep getting traps down around you.
We need this. We need it.
Bird.
I think inside this rock on your right.
I'm playing on me, guild.
Playing on you.
130 on one. What the? We did another.
Okay.
He trapped all of them.
Chill.
You wanna run him?
No, we don't.
I'm dead.
Oh, we're both dead, bro.
Look, if there's anything we learned from the positioning from Moist, it's I'm just trying to live. And bro, honestly, same.
This is oh so sad, and I can't believe that Moist is still rocking with us here as we work our way out into the open. Meanwhile, for Oversleepers and Optic, they themselves building to behold something that has been in play for as early as I can remember is still being exchanged here. The same can be said for Complexity in Morris. We're working directly out into the open east of our train line.
Sentinels fall, Moist fall elsewhere. DZ has left the tunnel, pushing forward. Sykes there in the Beast of the Hunt. That kill's gonna grant him another 6 seconds. And now Furia. That's unfortunate for them. They're going to fall, and DZ has essentially cleared out the entire backside of their zone, giving Jen Burton the ability to use those Nox gas traps to kind of just section off every bit of it. And, well, E8, you know, your building's looking real nice right now. Good calls there. You haven't had to leave your drop spot, and for Optic, you've got a heck of a cross.
Across from them was a slightly weakened Complexity just moments ago here. DZ taking advantage of the late rotate from Oversleepers that were once below. Skill Cakes and crew now just starting to foot their way towards height. They're not quite in yet. They have to push this.
And push they do. FaZe falls at the hands of XZ. Skittlecakes looks a little lost here. Goes down trying to get out. Dropped with the hip fires. Oversleepers to fall, but Optic is just going to join them as well. And now EEC. They just collapse upon all of those teams, and more still full sending. Keep your eyes on XZ, keep your eyes on Legacy, and EEC emerge from the corruption of this zone.
It's a solid position for them, one that was almost pressured upon by Legacy, but they make the great call to pull away from the current exchange that was happening. SSG finally finding the remnants of XZ themselves. EC though, I know it looks bad, but I actually don't know how bad this is here. We know Legacy's just below them, but are they targeting them on this next rotation? Seems like the answer is yes, and it's not just them. SSG putting just as much pressure down as finally Elevate have begun their move in, and DZ, oh, look at the height that they hold.
Yeah, look, I don't hate the high ground. That's going to be great for now. In particular, you have Legacy playing the 3 supply bins in the dead center, kind of that hole almost. So we have to keep an eye on that, because there's going to be a lot of teams looking to put pressure on that. And SSG, no stranger to taking a match day win on a groups B and C, and they're already having a solid game. But E8, they finally have to move. DZ leave the high ground. EEC mirrors them, throws Beast of the Hunt on, and well, hey, we got to hear it, Zephyr.
Oh. We'll see.
It's the bow.
It's not quite a bow check. I was about to say, haven't landed it yet.
I was
Waiting
ready for it. I was ready for it. The swing comes through and Phony goes down. Zainu and Frexes are going to have to finish the deals here onto E8. They do fall. Do we have enough time to hit the reset? No, we're playing our life at this point and we're barricading forward. EEC step away from the high ground. Not going to be able to play your team's knockdown shields. We're down to the final 3.
Ultimately, Dark Zero is more than helping. They actually turn their attention towards EEC in that moment to clear out their side. SSG now in the exchange against Legacy. They've got to be so careful here because especially with that zone breaking out their cover, look at how much space DZ are dwarfing across the map here.
They hold the entire northern side of this zone. They can play this hill. They don't have to extend out. SSG falls. And now we have that straight 3v3. DZ versus Legacy. Niazul, you know, you can see he has about 25, 50 HP on the shield. Yanya stays okay. They back off for now. We're expending through those ultimates, but Jen Burton still holds that Nox gas
Really
trap.
Good. This was the best pressure they could have utilized here, and now finally throwing this one out. The ticks have begun, but it is very open. With that full assault, though, they are zoning them into perfect LOS setups. Zero from behind as Niazul will go down a 2v2 situation. They don't have that height.
Oh, and Zero's just trying to get an angle on one of them with the EVA 8-0 against the world. Can he make this happen? No. Legacies will evict. A former LAN champion says, this is my zone. We want to go back to LAN and prove ourselves.
It was oh so close there in the end, especially for the remnants of Dark Zero. Had they potentially waited just a little bit longer, they might have been able to challenge a lot of that zone control, because ultimately I think they were a bit too separated and they didn't really get that full capitalization of the Nox gas grenade. Yes, it pushes Legacy out, but they have too much cover to truly work with. So it's really out into just a different position, not one that spells weakness for them. They take advantage of that height and they win our match as a result.
Yeah, and my question is, with the high ground, if we see that from Legacy's POV, does the Nox gas trap actually hit the player on high ground? Because we all know the biggest effect when it comes to that Nox gas trap is the stun that comes along with Caustic's gas. So as you're swinging into that fight, right, you're looking for them to be slowed, you're looking for them to be stunned so you can just knock them over, but it doesn't really work out. So I think you had some really great commands on that side of the thing. Let's go ahead and look at the match results for our
remains if they're going to be able to hold on for dear life. For some of our performers, though, not really getting the best of Inklings today. Furia, Moist, those who sit on the top of the pyre, especially after big wins across the North American split, have yet to get that engine revving.
Ooh, well, now that we're halfway essentially through, we'll have to look at the series results later. But first, we've got to get Glitter back in. She asked for more crazy, and the zones, well, they're bouncing around. Are you not impressed?
I am. I'm also a little terrified. It's made for some really good gameplay so far, but there are quite a few teams that we had mentioned in passing at the top of show. We're now halfway through the day. I don't even know how we've gotten 3 matches in already, but there are a few that are right on the bubble that really need to step it up heading into Storm Point. But before we start talking about Storm Point, let's go back and rehash what happened in matches 1 through 3. And who better to do that with than Psycho? Let's bring Psycho in to hang out with us, chat a little bit. Coach from OXG, wearing the iconic green suit, because why wouldn't you be on the show here today? Welcome, and thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me. You know, that was a lot of crazy ring pulls for sure. You know, and you see these teams that are pretty much literally like on the edge, just playing off of like 3rd to 2nd console or recon beacon, and they're just like coming out and kind of winning this game, right? But there's definitely, you know, mistakes that teams are making on their micro in terms of when they get to that end game or get to that middle game, and it's kind of definitely throwing out their whole game out the window, because there's teams in good spots that have options to do a lot of different things in rings that can happen. The way I look at the game is I'd rather have a spot where I know that I can get, you know, 2 of 3 rings that I think are going to end in an area, rather than try to go in the absolute god spot and just hope for the best and get a top 5 out of it, right?
Oh, 100%. And I love that you provide those viewpoints, because personally, I think you're one of the smartest people when it comes to the Apex Legends community. So I don't want to, like, you know, give that ego a boost or anything. Plus, you're one of the most humble, so I don't want to say anything about an ego. But regardless, you talked about it earlier. We were kind of getting you in here for your tech check. You have to worry about Oxygen Esports, and I know we're going to have the time to walk you through a lot of those rings, but talk to me a little bit about through the journey for Oxygen, specifically because this split has been so tough, right? You have season 19, then you go to season 20, we get all of those changes, and Oxygen's performance has kind of been a little bit of a roller coaster like. So talk to me about how you guys have been navigating this split as a whole.
So the biggest thing is I think about all of the past experiences that we have. We try to bring in everything that we learned from, you know, when we got 3rd at the playoffs and when we got, you know, basically our top, 15th at the championship. The whole thing is we have to recognize fundamentally where we are with our roles and being able to make sure that whatever characters we're going to choose and pick are going to actually complement what is needed in our entire team. With the other piece of that too, I think that the updates, when they happen, are a crucial part as well. Because when the updates happen, you're going to have changes to the meta, changes to the characters. You know, your macro might also become a little different. So you have to adapt to all these factors. So I think the best players in the world are the most adaptable. That's what makes them sort of the most consistent. And so I think with Oxygen in our situation, what our problem was is that we were ignoring, you know, the macro that we had built. And we also were trying to adjust to issues with our characters. You know, like it was one of those things where we simply have to remember what we did in the past, what worked, and being able to actually implement it. And right now I feel very confident in our team. We've got our macro back. We actually have strides in our characters. Each and every single person seems very confident. So overall, I'm ready to go, and so are they.
I love that. I love that. A little bit of confidence before those finals coming up here shortly. Not just in them, but also notably in yourself. I'm going to need a little bit of that confidence, Psycho, though, as we work our way through our first 3 wings. So let's talk about game number 1 here. You saw Disguise come in to clean this one up, but I want your perspective, notably on Optic as a whole here. This drop, this choice, what do you do?
So, you know, this is a really challenging decision for Optic because we have Sentinels basically all the way underneath the tracks, right? EEC underneath you, and then you have Disguise pretty much on the back rock over there. So this decision by Optic is basically sort of a last ditch when they have to drop down an EEC. They're just hoping to get those kills and, you know, basically try to turn and burn on Sentinels and or, you know, DSG. But it's very lost cause. The biggest thing that they have to do in order to maybe have some success here is make sure that Sentinels can't make that cross. If Sentinels can't make that cross, then that makes it so they actually are able to kind of take out EEC, and even if they get killed by, you know, Disguise, that their placement is better, they've also now come out of it with more KP as well. So it's a challenging decision for Optic, but I think that's where their error is they needed to do a better job of making sure that Sentinels can't make that cross for free.
Right, and then into this zone, we have a bit of chaos coming out of Countdown, but at the end of the day, it's Moist working their way out from the north. Talk to me about a little bit of that delay.
So, you know, this is crazy for Moist because if you really look at it, they land mod stacks, right? So the whole thing is they were all the way in the zone. And they were struggling to kind of get in, but they were hitting multiple surveys, multiple consoles, and they're like, hey, you know, let's go to Skyhook side, right? There's maybe 1 or 2 teams on that side. Let's see what we can do about it. So they run into SSG, and SSG basically ends up getting into a little bit of a fight with them, but they end up kind of disengaging and backing off from each other. And then SSG decides to take, you know, this position on the bins, you know, next to the bridge, rather than making sure that they killed Moist. Moist got that whole edge for free, but the reason why they did it is because they had all the info, they walked in late, and they really leveraged that.
Yeah, great success for them there. But now, in our ending moments, we come down to a solid 3v3 excursion between Dark Zero and Legacy. But it's Legacy avoiding the ultimates and coming out on top. What could have Dark Zero done a little bit better here?
Well, it always comes down to an endgame like this. It always comes down to utility usage, right? I mean, you know, you guys were talking about Jen having that, you know, caustic grenade for a while, right? Having caustic ult. And the biggest thing that it comes down to is we need this bang ult to be extremely effective. And then we also need to combine that with the caustic ult, making sure that we actually get to take that space and swing, right? Even throwing kind of barrels forward, right? Really, the biggest thing is making space. And that is one thing that Dark Zero like did well, right, in trying to like actually move up on it. But the issue is once you get, you know, an isolated player, once Zero or one of them get isolated, and that's an overextension, that fight can get turned on entirely, right? Or, you know, Jen rather, you know, overextending, and that could get turned on entirely. So that's why they kind of won that. But Legacy is kind of one of those teams that I call like a turnaround team, right? And I think Oxygen is also one of those where even at a disadvantage, you know, whether you lose a member of your team or whatever, or you're very low, you find that entry, you find that knock, you find that ability to really turn it around. And only the best, you know, mechanical, you know, skilled teams and best, you know, fighting teams can actually do that. So, you know, props to Legacy for that one.
We get an opportunity to look at the series results here. Obviously, after that performance, Disguised and Legacy are now tied at the top at 39 points apiece. But Psycho, I want to get your opinion so far on the day as a whole. Which of these teams are standing out to you, or which performances have you enjoyed?
So what has stood out to me for sure is definitely the domination of Disguised. I mean, they're playing Edge really well, and they're playing out their options really well, being able to understand what teams they need to sort of third party. They're not like really taking a lot of these straight up like 3v3s. They're taking these advantaged fights based upon their rotates, and it's extremely well done. So, you know, props to Disguised for that for sure. But then I see, you know, other teams that, for example, like Moist, making the best out of the worst situation that they can, and really just leveraging all the information possible, so that way they can just come into zone late with all the information, being able to leverage it as well. So yeah, I mean, overall, like, you gotta understand though, like, just because in 3 maps things worked out well, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to continue on as a trend from Stormpoint. Compositions change, the geography changes, right? And also teams start to come to this mindset of we need to do well on this next map. We can't let ourselves fall short or fail, because we do that, then we're not even have a chance at land, right? We're not getting there. So at the end of the day, you know, we could probably see Furia even turn it around entirely here, you know, on this next map. I remember our team being able to turn it around in one whole map in Stormpoint and getting third off of that. And our World's Edge was horrendous, right? In past Pro League. So let's see how it goes. But this is really anybody's game. But we all know Disguise is definitely going to come out on top somewhere.
I love that. I love all of that analysis and that breakdown, Psycho. Thank you so much for jumping on and hanging out with us during our halftime show. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. And I hope the best to these teams that are doing their best to get to land. But I already know we're on our way to punch our ticket. I know we're going to do that. So
I love it. I love it. All right, well, it's always wonderful to get to chat with everybody, but like Psycho was saying, it's time for us to start looking towards Stormpoint. Before we do that, though, now seems like a good time to remind you guys of all the cool free stuff that we have going on that you could possibly be getting, okay? I'm talking about our newest Twitch drops. All you have to do is tune into any Apex Legends stream with drops enabled, and then you can start earning holo sprays while watching your favorite streamers literally all season long. You'll see each one of these holo sprays will be available for 2 weeks at a time, so that at the end of it all, you can have 6 brand new sprays come May 7th. Really, really cool options too. So make sure you guys are checking out your favorite Apex Legends streamers and getting some free Apex Legends loot. Why not? And then for us, Storm Point around the corner, which means Zephyr for you, it's time for you to go. You're gonna take a break, rest a little bit, enjoy your time off while Tiff and I
What is he doing?
he's committed to the break. He's just melting
It's
into a
typical.
puddle, you know?
It's fine.
Okay, Storm Point. I love that Psycho brought this up, Tiff, okay? Because
Yes.
I wanted to talk about some of the teams that actually aren't doing well and the opportunities that they could be having now that we're switching on over to Storm Point. It really is a totally different beast. This is the moment that some of these teams need to try and take and step up. And he even said just one breakout performance can absolutely change the game for these squads. Well, I'm looking at FaZe. I'm looking at Meat Lovers. These teams need that performance if they want to break into that top 20 and be in regional finals.
Yeah, it's going to be really tough, but anything can happen. And we got to see what those series results looked like on the back half of the first 3 maps for World's Edge. And no one is particularly running away with anything. We have that tie for first place with 39 points. Now, let's think about what a good game looks like for a team. Well, that's north of 20 points. If our 11th place team holds 9 points, 29 points after a map on Storm Point would put you all the way into the top 3, depending on what those performances look like from our top 3 teams. So it just takes one good game to turn the tides in your favor. And well, let's see what Storm Point has in store for you.
I was vibing out to that math. That was great math. I'm proud of you. You are the
did I do it?
Yeah, you're the new stats person. Who needs? We don't. Zephyr. No, it's Tiff now. Okay.
Call me Professor Spider Tiff now. I'm sorry, I can't do a British accent. You might have to ask Gaskin to give me some fine.
I think it was beautiful. It was lovely. Now we're just gonna be waiting a few minutes here while we get match number 4 loaded, ready to go. Our players loaded and ready to go. But this is not the only region that we have been kind of closing out the regular season for here so far. We finished EMEA earlier today, APAC before that. There have been so many moments so far of these teams clinching and making sure that they're continuing on in the competition to those regional finals. What have some moments been that stood out to you from what you've seen so far, Tiff?
Ooh, I mean, look, a lot of it. Oh, this, the APAC South record breaking. Look, I had a chance to interview a few of the players from APAC South when it came down to champs, and I got to sit down with FaZe from MDY White. So seeing performances from them today early on, it was quite interesting. And TYK, Team Burger, I mean, granted, this went 10 games. Wonton Dumpling kicked things off with a map 1 victory, and the chaos just kind of kept going forward. Bear Claw had some strong performances, and then you had a lot of members of their org itself in the long shot chat kind of hyping them up. But it was pure chaos. And to be fair, Glitter, I predicted Wonton Dumpling to win in 6 games. I did.
Did you?
I did. It didn't work out in my favor. 90% of the people that I saw on the graphic picked Legends Gaming, which, to be fair, solid pick.
I mean, between your win predictions and your zone predictions, I'm a little bit terrified of you at this point. And I
didn't light a candle. I should have lit the candle. I mean, Legends Gaming did have a strong performance, but things just got so weird for them throughout. And kind of towards the back half, you see Wonton Dumpling start landing Lava Siphon on top of Legends. But this is a good look back to a lot of those zone polls, and is MDY White that just had such consistent performances, drops the Nox gas completely full sends. And, you know, it's plays like that that are pretty fun to see.
I mean, and you're also seeing 6 teams heading into this match on match point. I feel like after season 20, we're seeing just how close all of these regions are when it comes to the competitive level, the competitive ability for all of these teams, because this was not an easy finish. This was something that all these squads had to fight for. You can see just how many more teams end up on match point. I mean, is this what we could potentially expect in EMEA and NA, do you think?
It's like we can't even be surprised at this point. The top 2 teams in our current region are from APAC South.
True.
DZ makes their way over here, Moist to join them. I look at anything to this region and I'm like, who's next? Who's next? Who wants to come to North America? and make a play for it.
Imagine a third, an A.
That would be crazy. But even this zone here, now when you look towards Wonton Dumpling, it's Jackie Chan in particular that has been absolutely crazy. But Serenity to turn this game around, because this is when I woke up. I caught games 7 through 10. And this zone in particular, I was losing my mind because I have a Peloton at home, and when I ride my bike, usually I take a class. Well, today my class was APAC South. And, you know, one thing one of my favorite instructors always says is you can get knocked down, but they can never knock you out. And that game from Serenity was that for me.
I love that. That's actually a great line as we're continuing to watch these moments. It's over half the lobby at this point that's now on match point. And we've seen this happen before, but not in a very long time where it's this many people fighting out for the win here, getting some more highlights in it from TYK. I mean, the fact that this is what Apex brings to the table in the regional finals, I'm scared, like you're saying, for when everyone ends up here at LAN.
Yeah, because those international scrims, they'll start kicking up soon, right after the NA and EMEA regional finals, and they'll probably take like a week break and start making it happen. That's the moment right there where TYK takes that match point regional finals. And as the scores go through, yes, Wonton Dumpling did have the most, but it helped them solidify their position at the top and be the champion for APAC South Split 1. But hey, let's bring it back to North America. It's Storm Point time. We got match number 4 on the way. The plane line will be starting above Zeus Station and cut through our map, ending at Barometer. Teams like Furia, Disguised, FaZe, and Meat Lovers will benefit from a plane line like that.
We'll have to see what they can do here if they have those moments to clutch up one big game to bring back a performance. Empire, a team that we watched the entire time on World's Edge in their contest up against Temper, now finding themselves already down to 2. This is definitely not how they want to start their Storm Point performance.
I mean, to be fair, Charmander is always going to be one of the favored starter Pokemon picks, and well, we're going to open things up here with some wins. They just gotta kind of finish it out. I hear a zip in the distance, so it looks like the lone member trying to escape. And look, Charmander uses Chase, and it was super effective.
Oh my God, the references. That was so good as they are continuing on the move to try and hunt down the final Empire player down to Flesh and seeing if they maybe can clean this up. They don't want to let this go. If Oversleepers can completely clear out Empire, they will, but it might take a little bit of time, at least able to still hit him on the scan, which means Charmander is still on the hunt. You can just barely see Empire in the edge of his vision.
Sir, can someone throw the Pokeball and get him back though? Because they're not gonna be alone there. Complexity lands command center. You can't extend out like that. Even Complexity notices. They're moving in. We're gonna cut it in half.
Let's check out that area.
It was definitely a thirsty and a little bit risky play, as now we're seeing what Complexity want to do with that potential information. They definitely heard shots for quite some time. Everybody's still on wipe, although they can expect the team they'll be facing off will also be in the same situation. They're not pushing it too aggressively. However, teams also will start to get a look at the map and potentially start moving that direction. As I say that, we get it pulled up and look at Legacy at Pylon.
Look, we have not had an end game hit Pylon in North America yet. So I would love to say this zone is pulling Pylon, but the data to me, it's not gonna end there. It can't, right?
I don't know anything anymore. I thought I did, and I know nothing. Sentinels possibly anticipating it being in that general vicinity. Obviously, Legacy look happy as well. You can see Moist and Temper on the southern side deciding how they want to handle that. But this is going to be interesting. Apparently, Moist want to clear out Temper. They don't want to coexist on this southern side.
I mean, it's to be expected, right? They land in neighboring POIs. You want to look for that information. Moist landing at Echo have already gotten themselves on blue. You take a quick armor check towards Temper and you just go, okay, well, where is it that I want to go? But I was looking to see if did they get information from Echo or were they beaconless? No, they do have access to a ring console in Echo on the northern building. They'll pop the evac and they begin their journey in Pylon.
Definitely smart to move in there early, as you can see just how many teams have already started to claim some real estate here. Moist taking a little bit of damage on the landing, but still finding themselves in a safe enough position. But you've got Legacy in there. I think EEC is in there. Like we said, Sentinels came through from Jurassic, and now you're starting to see a couple other squads kind of poking around the edges. I feel like everybody has been burned by these zones so many times now, Tiff, that they're just a little bit scared.
I'm burned. FaZe 18th overall in the back half of the series. Zera takes way too much damage right there, but hopefully the nades will stave off any push so he can go ahead, get back to full form. But it's Panders, and I like the angle that Snipe's taking throughout this to try and help the teammates, but we need a little more cohesion in this. Whatever it has, it's almost like we've waved the white flag in the middle of this because they're both looking to reset their health.
This is definitely a tough spot to find themselves in as well. I mean, Xset, DZ, and FaZe. That is a trio of teams to be caught in the middle of. FaZe being one of the teams that needs to have a really solid performance. They can't afford to go out to DZ or FaZe. They try to wrap, and Snipe Down finds a nice shield crack here, looking the opposite direction, seeing if they can maybe clean this up and get some points on the board, but also a little bit concerned knowing just how many squads are in the general vicinity.
Look, I mean, they keep swinging, looking for angles, but you're just going to get caught out by other teams. And Xset, well, they've got someone just to their north, but can they get into that building? They take the space, and the team kind of runs away. Complexity now running into some issues here with, I believe, Kimchi falling. We lose out full, and wasn't it Kimchi that said, no matter what Monsoon has, he will drop it for a longbow?
Just wants to make sure he's getting that damage down, but it's Meat Lovers that's trying to push in and see if they can clean up and clear out Complexity. Little bit of damage being taken. They're somewhat low, but decide they want to continue pushing this advantage, knowing that Complexity are down to a 2, and that is it for Complexity. Meat Lovers clear out that space. They now own the area around Stormcatcher. This will be huge for Meat Lovers.
It is really nice for them. They're outside the top 10, but not for long on the day. They'll start fighting their way back into it. We get a good look at that zone. It's only a matter of time before we see the pool. Does it actually go Pylon? Or are we going somewhere else? Temper is down there on Echo HQ. I'm curious to see, they get that third zone information before they decide to move in. If it is Pylon, it is going to be one of the bloodiest rings that I've seen in a very long time. And it does actually kind of start pulling towards Pylon. The first here for North America.
I was so worried it was going to shift right onto Xset or something for a second. I thought it was just going to be really wild. It ends on Pylon, but I don't really know how much better that is. It's only better for the teams that were hoping it was landing on Pylon and at least have gotten there early and claimed some space that they can potentially hold. Meanwhile, everybody else is going to be having to push through a lot of these different teams, because look how tiny the chokes are. All the available spots to rotate into are, it's all hallways where they're just stuck in rough spots.
It's not going to be good. Regardless, the building that Sentinels is occupying, I've seen an end zone there. I've seen an end where Elevate currently is. I've also seen it pull to the fingers more, where it kind of ends out in that area where Ape Gang is. So it's just a matter of time before we see the collapse of Pylon.
Meanwhile, DSG, one of our teams, taking their time. And at this point, it definitely will work in their favor to be slow on their push in, as they might be able to find quite a few Evo Harvesters, get their shields leveled up before they have to push into the absolute chaos that's going to be down there at Pylon. And you can see they're kind of trying to plot out their path to to see which is going to be most beneficial for the trio. They've got some space to work with if they choose the right direction. And it looks like they definitely choose a safer, slower, wider path. They should have at least 2 more, maybe 1 more, 1 or 2 more Eva Harvesters in their way so they can get their shields back up. But now we're seeing Furia fly in. So let's actually jump in and listen to see what they have to say as they're trying to find a little bit of space to land in.
Nice. Let's fucking go, guys.
Okay, get it fenced up. Get the gen down. I don't know what spots. I don't know what spots.
Okay, listen.
That's not a caustic team, guys. That's a cat team to the northeast.
Okay, it's fine. We can't cross. We're gonna die. Watson, I don't think you fence the doors, bro. Because if someone shoots our door, everyone's just gonna break them, and that griefs everything.
Dude, should we fucking blow on all and just run across fucking other room, bro? It's not a caustic team.
No, I don't think so, man.
I don't think
it's gonna
so.
pull there. It's gonna pull there.
Yeah, but
It's gonna pull like right here. Like it's gonna pull like.
Pylon can farm us in the
Have you
cross.
played from here before on that zone?
No.
Well, I mean, I just think.
You know, Glitter, I want the chaos. I want to see that push. I respect both Keon and Madness saying, no, man, that's not it. But also, I want to see it.
But it might be it, you know?
Could be. Could be.
Meanwhile, Xset still kind of just hanging out in this open space on the northern side, not trying to do anything too wild. Meat Lovers also pushing through on their rotation, at least 1 team in their vicinity that they're aware of. Gonna try and go for this evac tower and get themselves flying in a lot safer, knowing that this will also get them over any squads that have been taking their time on their rotates.
All right, I'm flipping my coin. Where are we headed? DSG from the outside looking in. Can we make it through? Design with the slide through. Smoke on entry. The scan does double down and reveal their position. Timmy in Beast of the Hunt. And honestly, this is the peak of visual clutter legends.
Oh man, we talked about it all the way back in EMEA. Not a lot of catalysts that we're seeing, but we're getting one right now.
Okay.
That wall working in their favor as well. Disguise taking a lot of damage as they push in to do some back and forth, now having to back off and heal. This reset is going to be crucial if they want to stay alive.
Design trying to play king of the hill on this building, smoking out the top of it, but with the team inside being a catalyst, it allows them to reinforce the doors and make it a little more tough for them. The issue is we need Design to kind of get a swing onto Yaz and Yurice, but they deathball together and they go for that straight 3v3. While Timmy's wingman shots were connecting early on, we pop that door open, but we get caught out, and now Disguised has fallen through the hands of Evolution and Moist.
Disguise could not catch a break there. You can see just how far away Moist were, but they knew that fight was going down and were able to deal some serious distance damage. Meanwhile, Optic, another team that's also been trying to stay on the outskirts, is now going up against 9 Lies, who are trying to see if they can maybe clear this team out, able to avoid a little bit of damage here, but as the peak comes around the corner, Laser goes down. Now 9 Lies down to 1, and Optic Gaming aggressively clear them out.
Look, and they stayed relatively healthy throughout that entire fight. And Panders, whoa, just gets deleted. Hello? Knock? We know the TTK on the Nemesis goes hard, and he's got an amped up Sentinel in the hands of Fun, so Xset knows what they need to do. They're sitting in 4th overall with 3 matches to go. Koi, he's got that Beast of the Hunt in the back pocket should he need to bring forth that. But for now, with the pulls, it's one I have not seen in quite some time.
You know, Xset,
I haven't seen it.
Xset have taken a little bit of time this season to kind of find a good groove for the trio, and they're looking a lot more confident right now, more aggressive, willing to take those engagements, so hopefully that'll play out well for them. But now we're back on with Ape Gang, who's a little bit out in the open right now, trying to call in that Rolling Thunder and see if they can maybe zone a little bit while also using that smoke, give themselves a little bit of space to play with here. But they're going up against Oversleepers, and I think FaZe also trying to see if they can maybe get in on this.
And here we go, Sentinels. Luda, though, typically one of the first picked off from this squad. They've put themselves in such a nice position with that building, kind of sending out with Beast of the Hunt to put pressure on the squads in the checkpoint, maybe pull as many KP if possible. But with that zone pull, only including about 2 of these buildings, yes, you still are allowed to play here for now. Elsewhere, we have Ape Gang eliminated, but we want to clear out the back. Meat Lovers is still trying to make a push, and, well, FaZe find themselves on the other side of the mountain.
FaZe were the ones that take out Ape Gang, if I'm not mistaken. Meanwhile, Moist also trying to clear out a little bit of space, still in the general vicinity of Evolution, and they're still going back and forth with each other. This is an opportunity for Moist to push in, though, as Reese does get knocked. Maybe they can clean up this this KP, and if they do that, they actually have this entire southeastern area to themselves. It'll give them an opportunity to decide their path to push in. Moist making that look easy.
Yeah, they did what they needed to do. That was tough, right? If you knock someone and they've got a gold knockdown, you just gotta swing them and push through. But Meat Lovers, they're having a nice game, sitting on 9 eliminations, 11 squads to go. They've cleared out their back, and now we just have to figure out what that rotation forward is going to look like. Isaac, 1 smoke. We hit the ult Excel to try to get the bang ult to allow that to divert some of the energy and the attention of Sentinels towards that. Here goes the evac. Now, I'm a little nervous, but we've got some trade-offs between the golds to try to filter through the rest of the ults. I'm flipping a coin. How are you alive? How?
I was gonna ask you the same thing.
Bro's actually won. Here comes the EMP, though. Would love to see that go crazy. And Sentinels, they don't want to leave their home. They are in that next zone. We need to defend it against Meat Lovers, because at this point in time, Moist is trying to find a space on that southern side of the zone. If they see too much action going on over here between these two, it's going to allow Moist the perfect opportunity to clean up this entire fight.
Nice shots. On behalf of Sentinels, now pushing up and trying to see if they can clear out Meat Lovers. Luda very low, does end up going down. RKN also low, but it's time to play cleanup. Meat Lovers go down, and Sentinels manage to hold really, really clutch positioning.
In a way, Furia kind of saves them. Moist go on their rotation in, and Furia is able to pick up 1 member of Moist. It doesn't necessarily allow them the ability to push on to Sentinels, so that becomes an isolated 3v3. Now you start to think of Furia's position. It's looking really good now, specifically with that zone pull. Dark Zeros is great, but not when there's 5 teams to the south of you. Elevate will have to walk it in, but this is going to be messy.
It'll be interesting to see what everybody inside of Pylon does as well, because these are always those moments where it almost comes down to the last team to make the move. The last team to use their full kit is typically the one that can come out on top. We see Optic currently on the low ground here, holding some space. Legacy above in the center. Exit starting to make a move. Legacy starting to make a move. You see EEC not really knowing where they want to go, where is safe, and they can't find that position. Yanya cleaning that up, getting rid of Temper as well. This is where it all comes down to. You need to make a move out early, and Optic actually might be one of the best positions to do that.
A sidebar here, if Legacy picked up one of the Nesties from Pylon and take the victory here, I wouldn't be mad about it. I would not be mad. Just a little Easter egg, guys. If you didn't know by now, you can pick up the Nesties inside of Pylon, but for the time being, I was gonna say, are you running back to grab one? Just kidding. We do have the Nox gas trap available. I do love kind of just making sure we are anchoring it down. We're still holding on to our ult, and Yanya is just doing Presidente type things, finding the craziest angles.
Furia right above Sentinels, as Sentinels are starting to try to sneak in with the zone right at their backs. They're able to find a little bit of space as Furia is forced out of the building, but now they find themselves in the crosshair of not just Furia, but pretty much everybody else. It elevates behind them. They're looking down at Sentinels as well. Furia decide to push in and see if they can maybe now clean up Elevate after they hear that action going down. And now Furia owns this half of the zone.
They did what they needed to do, and they it was as clean as they could have made it. Now, just anchoring themselves off, like you said, alone. You turn back to the chaos between Moist, Optic, DZ, EEC, XSET, and even Legacy inside of Pylon. We're hitting scans that say 10 enemies around you. 7 squads are gonna have to make an exodus here.
DZ, one of those teams on the low ground alongside Optic. Moist actually outside, just below everyone that has yet to move out. And this is going to be a potential situation where you see Moist and DZ battling it out yet again.
See Waltzy go down. Zero to be the one to do it. Jen on the inside, just putting as much pressure as possible. XSET playing kind of the mobile respawn they've called in on the top. Missile swarms coming in from Furia. Just gonna miss out on Legacy. They drop straight onto XSET, right onto the traps. The slow comes through. They are going to fall apart here. Goodbye, Legacy, and XSET gets the KP.
That gas was the 4th player on the team there against Legacy. Is now Dark Zero are just waiting for the perfect moment to start pushing in. You've got XSET and Optic waiting as well, while Furia get to watch all of this go down on the other side. They've already made their move in, and DZ are now stuck trying to battle back and forth here with Optic and the zone starting to push everybody forward.
As we look forward, the gas, it covers such a large area, but we have to get through this door. I don't see any nades that are going to be able, so we just have to barrel forward. Meanwhile, XSET's outside picking apart Optic before they fall into the final 4. DZ, we make a move, we get closer to being outside. But EEC, they drop. Jen, Sykes, they're gonna have to turn their attention onto them. Optic falls into the final 3. We need to clean up EEC, and we do. Now, Furia versus DZ. They have made their entry into this fight.
That was really solid playing on behalf of EEC. Furia have been waiting the entire time for these last few moments. They did a fantastic job being patient, and now they've moved in, also giving themselves a little bit of hype. They needed time to go up against DZ. All those red shields, and Furia drop down from below and take out Dark Zero.
It just takes one good game to change your trajectory on the back half of the series. Syria? Is that what we're gonna call it now?
Yes. Yes.
I like it.
That is what we're calling it.
I like it.
It's just another situation that we've seen, and we saw it when Moist did it over by Countdown coming through Skyhook. Furia took the northern side and waited to the right moment. There were so many people just stacked on top of each other in Pylon that you saw it was almost an advantage for EEC, who were down to a duo in those final moments because they had less people that they needed to hide in all of the chaos. They were able to outlast XSET and Optic because of being a duo and get themselves some more placement points on the board.
Look, if I'm reading this correctly, coming into this, Furia was in 20th place with 3 points. So if anyone needed a solid game to turn the tides for this series, it is 100% Furia. And they did exactly what they needed to do. And with that listen in early on, you really get to hear the synergy between the squad. Madness is like holding Keon and Watson in check there, and even Keon agreeing with Madness. I love that they have kind of the trust in each other to put forth calls and say, hey, is this the right direction? But to also keep them in check. And for that moment to be the turning factor of them, and even the push on to elevate, to take their space. Like every bit of those decisions just held their weight, and they took the win.
Yeah, it's going to be huge for Furia, but there were a few teams on there that on the overall standings are pretty low, and they've needed these points. And I'm specifically thinking about how consistent Sentinels has been so far today. They were one of those teams right outside the top 20 bubble, and we find them yet again in a position where they're bare minimum at least top 10. Before that, they've gotten a second place, a fifth place. They're really putting in the work to solidify their potential spot in those regional finals, and I'm excited to see if things start to get a little bit crazier in these last 2 matches. Will teams get more desperate as they try to make a final push? We saw Meat Lovers try here in this first Stormpoint match. They almost had it.
Can it get any crazier though? I just kind of peeked over at what the lobby chat was looking like for the players, and all I see is drop say, Pylon zones are insane, bro. You're not wrong. We hadn't seen one in North America region end like that. And it was the layer cake. That is my favorite way to describe a lot of those zones. And Pylon, they just have so many levels, which it changes all of the things. Because you think back to season 19, everyone was on Horizon. You could just pop a quick grav lift and take out a team on the high ground or try to chow them, push them away. You don't have that here. No one is really playing Horizon. It's very niche, similar to what we're seeing with Wraith.
I mean, we've even seen how many zones, whether it's here in NA or EMEA, where they are just absolutely wide open, and we're not in a meta anymore where we have cat walls or Gibby bubbles. It's just they're not being utilized in the same way. And so these players are having to change the way they're fighting, the way they're strategizing as a unit, and it's providing some really exciting gameplay.
I mean, exciting is the best way to put it. I had fun. I'm down to see more chaos. I'm down to see a lot of things. And honestly, all the teams that are needing to fight their way to continue that on, to get into the regional finals, they're trying to do their best. I love that you shouted out Sentinels early on, because that is the tried and true. They are killing it today.
And talk about a turnaround from yesterday as well, because it was a performance where they struggled, and being able to bounce back from day to day is just another marker of why these players are the pros and they are that good at what they do. But that's match number 4, our first Storm Point match in the books. We still have 2 more left to go, so 2 more opportunities for our teams to clinch their spot in those regional finals. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the Apex Legends Global Series. We just witnessed one of the craziest zones finally getting an end game in Pylon. And of course, we've got to welcome back Zephyr. I know you've got thoughts. You're probably like, it's not even going to pull Pylon. Why would it work like that? It did.
No, I was expecting it. Maybe not quite as deep as some of those teams were. And it's one of the first times, like you and Glitter were saying, that we've gotten to see a hard pylon zone in North America. And I love the analogy you bring up there with some of that tiered cake. This is something that we typically only see in innings towards the Dome and Thermal Station, or potentially Skyhook. But in Pylon, it is a monster to the max. It is incredible that Furia comes out the way they did, because one wrong move from any one of those teams could have changed the fate.
Yeah, it was played to perfection by Furia there, and even DZ doing the best that they could to wrap up as many of those KP as possible. Now, granted, we'd love to be able to show you the results from that match, but we are just having a little technical difficulty, so we'll get you up to date on those as soon as we have the ability to do so. In the meantime, if you're in chat and you think that your skills match up to what you're seeing on the screen, well, maybe step away from being a keyboard warrior and drop into our challenger circuit, because you too can send it on home and eventually try to qualify for the Pro League like our players today. You can see registration for that March 23rd and 25th will close on the 20th, which is in about 10 days. So you've got a week or so to assemble a squad. And like I was saying earlier in EMEA, I did see on the timeline, Vicky Kitty did win her first ever Apex Legends comp. So if you need to draft a roller player, go ahead, hit her up, maybe follow her on Twitter, shoot your shot and see if you got what it takes to play with Vicky in Challenger Circuit. So let's go ahead. Oh, we've got him! Day 9 match 4 results. Furia walk away with a 21-point game. For the rest of our squads that found themselves in the cake of Pylon, double digits for the majority, but still, honestly, I'm quite impressed with Xset's resilience is the best way to put it, right? They found themselves outside a land contention spot and have been fighting tooth and nail to get back to it. And now, granted, they haven't won a game just yet today, but they're still carving a solid path, Zephyr.
Absolutely. And I'll be honest, when it comes down to that pylon zone, it does seem like a lot of our teams walk away very similarly here. It's the reason why you see that point spread so close, given the fact that it's more of the landscape itself deciding what happens rather than some of those individual team decisions. But ultimately, as we take a look at the second half of our series standings here, there's not much left up on the board for many of these rosters, but it's thankful that we see teams like the Skies taking a little bit of a break before we work into our penultimate game.
I mean, as we look on, the only thing I'm noticing is Meat Lovers being able to get 3 full team wipes, finding good KP, and it does move the mark a little bit, but we just need to go further. Optic did tweet out that it was their day to clutch, and well, we've got about not too far to go, actually. The points disparity between first and even 10th is just one good game. A mere 19 points separating Legacy from SSG. So we've got 2 more maps to go and anything can happen.
And this is where we got to start talking about those overall points that are going to come into play after our matches resolve today. For teams that are on the cusp, they have to surpass getting above 23rd, 22nd, and you are safe. You may not be on your way to regional finals, but you'll still be available to play in Split 2 of Pro League along our 21st team. 20th and above, they still get their chance.
They do. They get another match day play to potentially take a match point final win and go to LAN or just bolster their points. We were talking about the teams earlier to watch that were on the cusp for that relegation. Sentinels, EEC, Meat, FaZe, Empire Gaming, and Oversleepers. Well, Sentinels, they've found themselves inside the top 6 with 2 more to go. What will that look like? But Stormpoint, if our first match of the day gave us a pylon zone, please keep the trend moving forward. I'm enjoying the chaos.
Well, we'll see if it's going to work out. I don't think you can get any kind of zone that looks similar to Pylon in any form of Apex Legends. So it would have to be a repeat, which so far today we've had similar locations, but ultimately no similar zones.
That's true. That is true. But as we get a good look at where that plane's going to be heading, it's going to start over by Launchpad side of things and end between Downed Beast and Northpad. Notoriously, Northpad is where DSG has the home of. They'll be benefiting from not only a ring console, but also a survey beacon. And even for the wrap, Down Beast offers a ring console as well as Mill.
Well, with 2 games left to go, this is the last opportunity for teams to put up the money where it mounts to. And at this point, I will say it's getting tight and it could potentially push these teams to play a little bit further here. The big one that I am currently watching is going to be 8Gang and Meat Lovers. Notably, Meat Lovers, off of that last game, like you said, 10 points. That pushes them up a little bit higher in our overall standings. And that could be enough to get them out of where they currently are, 23rd in the overall. If they don't get past that, they're going to be down fighting against our Challenger Circuit rosters.
We're gonna have to keep our eyes on that. We get a good look at where that zone is pulling, but based off the way they've been bouncing back lately, I would want to play for at least a 3rd ring console if we can, because we do not want to rely on the survey beacon map room scan to maybe give us some differentiating information. And do I hear like a PK pumping in the background? Whoomst.
I'm also hearing the cracking of eggs, so I'm going to assume it's not quite against anybody, but potentially down in what is the setup for potentially one of those spider chokes or somewhere else. I'm trying to sniff it out mentally.
It's another trivia question. It's another trivia question, right? Yeah, they're doing the spiders at Checkpoint. They also have a ring console, and for EEC, they were able to benefit from an Evo cache down there. They're not going to double back. They're going to leave the one that was a little more eastern, which is likely going to go to SSG at Launchpad. You don't want to extend out and kind of encroach on that territory too early on. But for Evolution here at Barometer, a nice priority toward that zone. They quickly get onto blue, and I'm liking the start of what I'm seeing.
Well, we'll see if they can make the transition for Evolution. This is a day that has to come with major success, but ultimately might be too far out of their control already. At their best, they would be able to put up 41 points from winning the day. Anything less, and they are eliminated, I believe. It's going to come down to some choice mathematics, but I'll tell you what, if they're placing in the bottom 5, it might as well already be decided.
Can we just talk about how Sentinels just find themselves in such tough positions off rip? Legacy grab that ring console and immediately start putting it to work. And now the evac. Maybe we're gonna go on the hunt and try to find the final members.
We'll see if it's that or the rotation. They do host themselves a nice exit, or at least entrance now, into the land of play. And the minute we stop looking at Evolution, they are already done and dusted there. Temper on the other side of things, able to roll up even quicker than they probably could blink and find that wipe.
That's really tough, and it's pretty notorious for what we expect to see in our series. When it comes to 6 games, sometimes they start ramping up towards the end of it, get a little more aggressive. DZ's already lost out on Sykes, and Optic is just on the other side of this rock. They decide to hop into the Trident. They're sitting on triple blue. They've got the advantage, and now we have to look at kind of the recovery of what that's going to look like for DZ to get that reset.
I love that you see the very split-second return of Optic, which terrifies me for the fate of DZ here. But for now, I'm a little bit scared for what lies below. FaZe looking to take advantage. I love this follow-through. The EMP gonna come up dead on nothing, and now with the evac right there, it will get them to hype, but that's a lot of great sustained damage to maybe give FaZe their entrance to this fight.
It's really now or never, with only 2 games separating them from the potential of relegation. And here at Thunderwatch, I looked like that was trying to be a wall bounce to maybe find yourself on the other side, but Meter having a pretty decent day, with 2 teams both needing to fight their way out of relegation. As soon as I say that, it looks like Homie got 1 clip straight up. Hey, trade comes through though.
Snipe down with the falling down there. 2v2 on the other side. It's going to be Zera with a pinch from both angles. A1's with that knock, but in return, Panders is quick to clean up the remnants of that damage. For Meat Lovers, they've done their best to secure some higher positioning today. For FaZe, this is dearly what they need.
Honestly, knocking out Meat Lovers this early on, it's perfect. It is perfect. It allows them to get some early KPs, start that leapfrogging purpose. There's only about 8 points that are separating FaZe and Meat Lovers, and it's the differentiating factors between 12th and, well, 16th place. And I would love to see at least a top 8 performance out of FaZe today to maybe try and get out of that. I don't know if that would be enough, but it's a start.
Especially with a lot of these discussions, I'm starting to worry about some of our other rosters that aren't here today. You know, Game and Gladiators, of course, DNO, as well as Skirt. These are going to be things that they just have to lie in wait. And for some of those teams sitting above the 20-point threshold, they actually might be losing out on regional finals from performances like we see from Meat Lovers and FaZe, respectively.
It's almost like we've got the observing curse at this point. We jump on over to Temper, and yeah, they're running into Xset. Fun, go ahead and drop Spade, gets the full and continues the damage going forth. We do lose out on Koi in the process, and a stun comes through from a nearby Arcstar. We do have the wherewithal to get back in the building, use the Nox gas traps to section off the doors and stick the res onto Koi.
Solid recovery, especially since that was not Temper who finds the damage there. Legacy from above with that knock. Jaguarez with the drop, and the only reason why I don't see the follow-up is the fact that they have such a good position here in Barometer that they can't dare give up. Any other world and we'd be seeing the follow-through.
An incoming bang ult. Gonna make things a little difficult here. You see Dynasty kind of just down there, not able to get back to their squads, and its complexity. And this, to be fair, is a relatively off day for them, but we do have 2 more matches to kind of send this turnaround. They just haven't been able to get any momentum moving forward. And, well, you know who does get momentum? It's going to be Legacies, and Xset, well, unfortunate. Fun and Koi both will find their end.
That is just, I can never contextualize how insane Legacy is as a roster because they just drop onto teams like that. And speaking of drop, we'll tune in with the main man himself as they're going to find the knock drop dish out against Dark Zero here.
Oh my god, man. What the fuck? What just happened?
Listen in, my brain.
You're good. It was struggles for your brain, struggles apparently for them as well.
Legacy. Holding on. We grab that knock and full onto out event, but we still have so many teams in the nearby vicinity that are putting pressure and not necessarily allowing them the space to roam through. But as we say that, Yanya, just full sends. We're chasing. We don't care.
I mean, you're already at a major numbers advantage. You have this kind of damage down as well. And for Legacy, given the fact that it is as early as it is within this game, they have the freedom to do this. We talk about zone 4, 5, 6 rotations. You can't give it up. But ultimately, especially after finding some of that aggression against Xset, that's it. Right? I mean, that is the go button that shows you have a lot more clearance than you think. Legacy takes full advantage.
Let's reposition there.
FaZe definitely has their work to go on, and let's go ahead and pop into a listen in with them.
They're on hide here.
Let's reposition there.
This guy's a sentinel.
They have a bow. They have a bow and a sentinel.
We might get from
back
tunnel.
up. They went back up.
Do you hear me? We might get from tunnel because there was one team in Jurassic.
I'll just know they went back up too.
I'm at 88.
All right, well, I'm going into tunnel.
Alright, we fucked them, so I can scan tunnel.
Yeah. There was only one team in Jurassic. Yeah.
Before you walk in there, let me do it.
A lot of teams that
they might rip an evac, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah, they are. They might try and come for tunnel, actually. So let me scan it.
We need to scan. Yeah, careful.
I'm just gonna sit. Careful. Open that and just.
I'm watching for this evac team. They're flying this way.
They're like spiders. We
trying to see where they're going.
I am down to keep trying to hold these guys out.
Yeah, so am I. Because like we're in over here on Cedo. I don't know if anyone will Cedo though.
Let's try to get up to this before they get there.
Yeah.
Where'd they land?
They're in the open. They're going into Cedo right now. They're over here.
Yeah,
no angles yet.
Gone. I'm gonna grab support. They're gone. I'm grabbing support.
One like has red armor, by the way.
Yeah, multiple.
3 bats are here.
I'm good. I have 5.
Salt in on me as well. Salt in on me.
Yeah, I'm coming.
They're probably gonna scan that beacon. That was a nade.
Could be baiting us. They're Valkyrie. They're stuck in this room now. I think there's a team on cannon.
Yeah, I'm sitting here for a minute.
Anything juicy out on this?
I'm gonna walk up a little bit so I can scan to see what the fuck's going on. Did you hear me?
I'm gonna walk up with you then. Yeah, I'm walking.
I'm gonna kind of make sure.
I feel like this side's gonna just do nothing. Really.
We should go back.
Yeah, I'm down. Nothing's happening.
We still have an evac.
We can play there, no? Smoke me, maybe?
We need to think about what we want to do here.
Smoke me. I want to play through there.
I like the decision-making process that's kind of working through that squad. Now, we think about, does this make sense to play early on? They were looking to maybe push towards Furia, SSG, but we get an update on where that zone is pulling, and well, there it is. That's a pull.
Out and away from Barometer here is going to play to the benefit of FaZe in all scenarios, not really having to worry as much about some of these chokes. They still do have Moist and Exit on that potential backside rotation, but cleaning out a team like Oversleepers can guarantee them a decent position, at least into that next zone here. So ultimately, Tiff, when it comes down to the decision making, teams are really taking advantage of this kind of slower rotate, more edge-oriented style that has ballooned going into Season 20.
With SSG grabbing that survey beacon information, they will now know where everyone is. Furia, though, on the evac. They go through trying to find a space, and, well, they find Optic, and his Watson, man, is just doing craziness in the air. Just, I'm gonna go this way, I'm gonna double back. Dude looks like he's kind of jumping out of a plane, literally.
The literal G-forces you would not understand.
You would not understand, but for Moist, who has found themselves in the midst of Xset, we kind of double down, throw down the bangle, pop Beast of the Hunt, and we are just trying to get away. They're even throwing an evac. But if we take this right now and Xset pulls around and tries to go for chase, they could be easily aimed at. But the time is of the essence. Well, it's everyone going for the evacs.
Ultimately, Waltzy in the air, sitting on but a sliver of health. We know a lot of the barometer is contested, but they'll find themselves a bit of a hole here as 9 Lives now choked out by the nades below. Open Dynasty finally pressured upon from the other side. Will get a taste of their own medicine as Legacy. They've been on fire all game, and they'll continue to burn through the bullets.
Okay, we find another in Empire after taking out 9 Lives, and Yanya goes down. The reset comes through. We've got to get the Devo wielding demon back up on his feet. Oh, Optic over here. This is going to be real tough. EEC has made their entry on, and now it's dropped in a tough position, needing a 1v3 to come through. Or we take this time to play our life, get as many placement points as possible. But Carter is making calls. They think they know exactly where they are.
I mean, they should be good to go here. Ultimately, I mean, Optics dropped is the only last remaining member, finding a hair's breadth of cover. They've got those knocks, unless I'm missing out on some major LOSs on the other side here. That should be something akin to what we see out of Legacy, a full send.
Send it. Well, for Moist, they make their rotation in. They find a playable spot for now. And to be fair, zone pools are in their favor for FaZe that are finding themselves with a really tough rotation, but they have to get through oversleepers first. Panders goes ahead and gets that Sentinel amped up and ready to roll. Let's jump back into a listen in with them because, you know, we love to see how they're going to make this decision.
That's for you. No, I'm not kidding. So. I think we want to land behind teams that are forced to run in. Like, if we could land behind this team that's running in or something like that, then we can force them into each other. Like, we don't want to just try and land into a spot. We want to land and then run it in. Unless you see something that's open.
Too late. They're getting shot in the back. They're running. They left the building right now.
I'm popping it. I'm popping it. I'm taking this instantly. I'm taking it instantly. Taking it instantly. Let's go.
They got shot from the east.
Make sure you don't hit the mountain. I'm about to land on this roof, bro.
There's a team there. I'm going further. Like, I'm going in here. I'm going here.
Yeah, go to this pocket. This pocket. This pocket.
There's a team here. We just have to kill them.
Bro.
Oh yeah, this is bad. I'm gonna snipe.
That's exactly what I didn't want to do. What the fuck? Holy fuck, that was tough.
Nothing else we can really do.
We did get a look at the decision-making process. We hear a call of we want to land on a team that is essentially going to be running into zone. Changes happen in the spur of the moment, and they go for Moist's location, which was fine if you would have done this, you know, 5 minutes ago.
No. Ultimately, it is a quick change up in the heat of action that you can even see in their final moments they're dealing with. But I say final as they're still a lot. Okay, never mind. Zach found him. Zach found him.
Have no fear. E8 wants KP. FaZe are eliminated, and now Xset have the attention, and they've got the high ground just above E8 with the ability to put all the pressure, but they cannot leave this little this crate because there's so many people all around them. The smoke and push straight onto them. Moist have turned this into such a solid position for them.
They'll burn for just a moment longer before cleaning out their back. They've still got to deal with the remnants, I believe, E8 below there, as Shubi and Zap are still left standing, trying to stick out what should be that revive on Zach, but probably unlikely to do so now with the full force of Moist beyond them. For DSG, SSG below sharing the same carriage space. Neither of these teams are going to hold on to this for very long, and I definitely worry. Notably, though, you do see that evac available on enemy. They could potentially float here above the competition and choose something similar to what FaZe were discussing earlier.
Oh, you see the wall about to get dropped before we cut away. That is the one thing about enemy being one of the only players to lock in Catalyst. They'll be able to benefit the crossing of this water coupled alongside a couple bang smokes, and you're good to go. But you have to get towards Moist, which they just have so much space to work with around here. They've got the cover of the wall they have up top, And even then, Waltzy is just moving freely around.
As long as they're going to cover some of the distances eclipsed by the Western pushes here, which should in itself be covered by these other teams making the exchange, instead it's SSG pulling for that evac strategy we discussed, landing right in the face of Moist's beams here. I mean, it literally could not be even easier.
Optic has fallen. Waltzy trying to get the connections through. Disguise not going to make the cross through the water. It doesn't work regardless of you expending a cat wall or not. Oversleepers to fall to Furia. And with 5 squads in this zone, it's tough, but it's the chaos we wanted.
We say goodbye to Furia there. Surprisingly, Wi-Fi has managed to just last through the remnants of all of this action, and Legacy, who have been playing out their heart here, dominating, currently at 14 elims, are trying to balloon what actually might be even more than that. I think that might be 19 elims.
Look, you gotta do what you gotta do. Thinking about where they were coming into the start, the final match day for them, they were in 14th place overall. 12 teams will make their way to LAN for Split 1 playoffs. They were about 7 points outside of Drop-In Gaming, who aren't playing today. And they needed the strongest performance. Can you imagine what 25 match day points will do for them?
Something that could potentially set themselves up for LAN. Finally, I don't know for how long this has been something that Moist could have done there. Inevitably, Ape Gang is finally spotted out, and it takes us back to the presence that Legacy knows best, a straight 3v3.
They navigated one earlier against Dark Zero, and it started a lot like this. I will say a little too much damage was taken on the cross because Moist, they've stayed healthy. They're just peering over, and while one does get to the top, it's going to be MT opening it up. The trade did come through, though, and now MT with 5 HP have to keep this dream alive. Niazul does get a shield swap, so 1v2, and there we go. Legacy with a beautiful cleanup.
I love this because we even go back to our interview with Psycho earlier, and he said it himself. Legacy's just one of those teams who have the ability, the unadulterated capacity to find the little advantage to send them into their lead there. You get to see it in that final moment. It looks like it's terrible. Done and dusted. Yeah. They're on low ground. They're all getting cracked. They're walking into a Rolling Thunder. Suddenly, the elevation changes. One goes up, the other wraps around, comes through from other side. It's a full pincer, and Moist, they've got no idea where to look.
And also, you think about early on, a lot of the teams made their way and were fighting there. So I can only imagine that there were shield cores everywhere. The issue is if you go to swap a shield core and you run and it's dead, that's where you make a mistake that you really couldn't have accounted for. But if you get a quick swap, what we saw from Niazul, you just kind of get back into the mix knowing that you just have to find one more teammate on Moist, and that's another win for them. And hey, it's looking good for them on their journey towards LAN.
It is a solid position for Legacy now, knowing that, especially after the double wins today and starting off in 13th before today's matchup, that they definitely host probably one of these stronger positions going into our regional finals. Remember, 60% of the teams that will be playing in the regional final are going to LAN.
That's true. That's true. It's the best odds that you could possibly have from a region. North America will be sending the most, and this and EMEA are the last two regions. We're just kind of waiting to see who is going to be in Split 1 playoffs, and we keep talking about it. All the international scrims, what it's going to look like. I'm getting excited where it is. No one knows.
I'm not allowed to answer that. But ultimately, at the end of the day, no one knows is the answer we'll settle on. It's one that will be questioned, though, Tiffany.
A lot of questions, and we want answers.
At the end here, we do look at some of the other rosters that are able to come through. It's a big return for Ape Gang, and this was one of those teams that I did discuss before we got into today's matches that I was a little bit worried about here. Remember, they were coming out in somewhere of a position around 17th or 18th. Someone where, if we finish down in the bottom 20s, are going to be eliminated either out of those regional finals or even worse, into relegation. A third place position like that, even if it doesn't come with KP, starts to shore up that point differential, and it shoves teams like DNO and Game Gladiators down into a more confident relegated position as Ape Gang shores up their weaknesses.
When we look at those points, speaking of the teams that are going to be going to potential relegation, Optic is only 7 points ahead of 20th place, right? 21st is 40 points, and Optic has 47 coming into this day. That is scary, Zephyr.
That is a struggle there, but I do hesitate. In a sense, there's a lot of this kind of access to sort of some of these teams knowing that they get to play the day of, right? Optic is one of them. And while it has been a bit of a roller coaster in terms of their performance, they are going to have that opportunity to at least put up any sum. Right? Some of our teams, especially those like Temper and Evolution, are walking out of today with the play, knowing that outside of a win, they're done already. That's already on average 5 or 6 teams decided even before Optic performs in any capacity.
Look, it's crazy, right? And even crazier was Legacy's performance. So I'd love to go ahead and more chance to make that come through. If not, you're going to be fighting out in the gauntlet of those qualifiers in just few moments of time, maybe a few weeks. We'll have to wait and see. But until then, we'll jump into a quick break. And when we come back, that final match. Welcome back, everyone. It's going to be the final match just about to go underway for our regular season. And then all that will be left is regional finals next weekend. And honestly, I'm already pretty excited for it, Zephyr.
I'm excited for regional finals, but I fear what lies below that. The relegation is on the minds of so many of these teams, and that's got to start to hit here. The final match, the final moments of you in North America before you're potentially either looking at that split 2 several months away, or even worse, fighting in the absolute gauntlet of the Pro League qualifiers.
And this is a similar story when we look at this map rotation, the history of what we've witnessed throughout our series today. Legacy has an opportunity for a bonus point here. Should they win again in this final match, they will go home with 26 points, which when you think about kind of leapfrogging into that top 12, that extra point can make or break their plan journey.
Yeah, I want to point this out right now. At 25 points for Legacy, they would walk into 82 points on average, right? That is a huge chunk that sets them, I believe, right into 4th place overall. A little extra point puts them at 83, doesn't bump them up any further, but that is one of the highest point totals, especially going into what will be a very confident regional finals.
Well, it's now or never. Will Legacy win again and get that extra bonus point? Will our teams that need to perform well do it here? Can Exit double down on that Game 6 success that we saw in Groups A and C yesterday and really move up? Because at this point in time, only 9 points separate 5th from 2nd place.
Oh my gosh, that is, I mean, that's a chunk of points that actually might change things up here. For some of our lower end rosters, they've got bigger gaps to disclose, especially as we start talking about 30 being that 10th place mark. And for most of them, they're still sitting a whole 15 to 18 points away.
Here we go, getting that early zone information to see where we're potentially, oh my. Very similar to what we kind of just witnessed, shifted a little bit over so that Millage is dead center. You see the bean right there, and Elevate and Cedo, that's good positioning early on for them. But based off what we've seen historically through World's Edge and the zones kind of bouncing around, and even to the zone where we thought it was going checkpoint and it pulled back to Cedo, I'm good.
Yeah, I will say, it kind of, once again, I bring up Psycho from our mid-interview here. You don't want to directly play for some of these positions, given how hard it's become to predict these zones. Things like God Rock to the left of Empire there, a building within the Millage, or potentially more, but... Oh
Zephyr, are you seeing what I'm seeing?
I'm seeing Temper on their last legs, giving us a show.
I will tip my hat to Advent right now. A lot of people are always asking me, when will we see Mirage in Pro League? And I'm like, never. Never. Well, never is now. You're welcome.
The thing I love about Mirage is that there is some credence to not like, okay, don't get me wrong, never going to be meta in the competitive, but like in terms of a stylistic solo play kind of uber advantage of chaos, the Mirage has become absolutely disgusting. We talk about that ultimate reset being on insane cooldowns alongside getting the extra tacticals off of the bamboozles if you opt for the perk choices. I mean, you can be an absolute monster depending on who is at least on the control there.
You know, I'm not gonna lie, Zephyr, the Mirages are my arch nemesis. As soon as they ult, I just kind of take my hands off the mouse and keyboard and I just let whatever happens, because I'm gonna get bamboozled 50 times.
Oh, it is a problem. And you know, we always are like, oh, the pro players are so smart. You know, they look at some of the stuff they see from, say, a Mirage, and they're able to sniff through it super quickly. I wonder how much of that is true coming out of Season 20. You know, it's gotten a little bit harder. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but I mean, there's a challenge there.
It really is. And speaking of challenges, well, look no further. It's getting crazy, and Ape Gang just trying to stay alive. Vexies comes through and takes it all the way, but DZ, they make their presence known.
Coming through just as quickly to clean things up there. DZ are a short rotation that you have to pay respects to, but this is what we've been waiting for. Temper here, Moist on the other end, Evolution maybe getting into the fray. Remember, this ain't our zone, so we're looking for that chunk of action as teams are trying to pick up the KP they need.
They just want to change the leaderboard one elimination at a time. Avert Nate does come through. I can hear the shields crack. Go into that free cam with Evolution obviously having the Evo shield advantage. A grab lift to take him to the high, but yes, takes so much damage. And here comes through on the zip. They get the knock on to Cloaked, and well, he just got Obi-Wand.
Straight from above, though. Don't even know where that come up is. Evolution are shot from above, of all places. I can't blame them for not looking there. And meanwhile, just like what we saw from DZ, it may not be as quick or as clean. Moist have come through to start to drive and find some of that remnant.
That's crazy. When you think you've got high ground, make sure you really have the ultimate high ground, because here comes Waltzy. He wants to grab onto the zip so bad. You see the knock come through. Yes, Dedge. Here goes another one. Get off my tower, bro. And here they go with the finishing touch of Evolution.
Just an absolute superb extension there from Moist. They try to drive on by and they can't help but get into the action. As a result, it's a nice extra KP for a team that arguably doesn't really need it. Currently in second overall, in a confident position on the overall standings. The only thing we can hope for is for Temper to survive another day.
I mean, look, just pop your Mirage ult and run. We'll see later. For FaZe, we see them set up. Just kind of a little further away from Furia. Some teams still trying to make that rotation, but I do love the fact that we've got the map scan behind them. They probably play off that, see that we've got a team right ahead of them. And Panders, you know, we're setting our sights onto that former squad made of his Watson.
Ooh. Quick scans up and above here. It's a low ground disadvantage, but we'll see if the revenge is just as quickly. Here's Watson, the namesake, stepping to the plate, not quite finding much damage. Instead, it is the break on the other side here.
Here we go. That perk from Bangalore, allowing not only the Bang to grab that information once double time is inactive, it's going to be the rest of the squad consistently smoking out, but still looking to couple that alongside the scan and push through. But they're not going to be the only teams trying to make a staple here. DSG enters the mix, and they're going for the full wraparound, but keep your eyes on Snipe. He's getting a little crazy down there.
All right, keep them eyes, but also be wary. You know, you don't want to be caught out, especially with Disguise in any given moment's notice to separate here. But this disextension on the other side of things could be what Disguise have been waiting for. That wall from enemy, that's the split that should give them the credence to punish this rotate.
Oh my God, did all of FaZe wrap around? Doesn't matter. Timmy does open up with a nice knock on to Madness, and we're still full sending into Command Center. They're just looking for the other two. Scan comes through. It does ring for both of them, and we are moving. We got that boost for another 8 seconds. Little wall bounce for sure.
Gosh. For show or for speed here at the end of the day, they're right on the head where they want to be. It's Timmy now from above with the rest of the team quickly accelerating from behind. Gotta tell you, those jets leave you but a sitting air duck, as some would say.
I was gonna say, I don't really know how I felt about Keon completely turning his back to DSG and just jetting away, because it's just not going to work, and it's not the quickest escape, right? But back to Legacy, who are sitting near Barometer, and we picked up so many eliminations throughout map 5 here. We found one, and we'd like to, you know, get a ton more.
Ooh. Surprisingly, by the way, in the other exchange outside there, we do see the end of Furia finally picked off towards the opposite side of things. So that'll be it for them after what was a good catch started by Disguise, especially enemy with that lovely wall. At the end, it is going to be a bit of a double teamed effort, especially with Meat Lovers now on their rotate through. Most of these teams, by the way, haven't made the zone yet. We're still edging it out.
I don't blame them for going about it that way, because I look to what's left in the map that's outside the zone. You could still hit a ring console at checkpoint if you don't have that information. No teams are really taking that rotation pattern, and well, Tech doing tech things.
Just get out. Like, just drop it at that point. You know, I love the trident, but you've made your rotation clear. And for meat lovers, they'll set themselves up hopefully for a nice exchange. Getting across this hillside, and especially through Cito, is a question still at hand here, as instead they're back towards that checkpoint choke phase quickly from behind. Meanwhile, Moist v Legacy.
It's a big fight here, and you can see right there, one member of Moist gets dropped. MT able to just skirt away. They don't want to fall this early, right? Because at this point in time, they were sitting about 23 points outside of where Legacy had positioned themselves. They had already found 4 eliminations, and they were wanting to go on a tear for themselves. And, well, you know, Legacy, reigning supreme at the top, is like, no, Moist, we can't let you have that.
It is a great defense there, one that they're happy to take advantage of. And for Moist, I mean, ultimately, it's still a phenomenal day. If they continue to survive here, they might be able to shore up some positionings, but ultimately, disguised. Dark Zero here, of course, the likes of Exet even might be able to make some exchanges and surpass Moist if they are to fall anytime soon.
We get an update on that zone closing. Look how many teams towards the northern point chokes that still have to find themselves in. You've got meat lovers going against Empire right now, and they'll have kind of the lay of the land of those buildings. But if FaZe decide to come through spider tunnels, they will be third partying towards this. And with one knock already to be had, they make it more into a 3v2. Tech does fall and take a lot of damage, but he doesn't necessarily hit the ground. He's able to focus on the healing, prioritizing the white health first because the zone has already pulled in, and this is tough.
It's tough, but it's got to be even better for meat lovers. Remember, 23rd right now with 37 points in the overall standings, in 12th currently in our day 9 standings. They've got to be a little bit higher than that if they want to avoid relegation.
And as we check back in with Temper, I would just want to see the Mirage ult and all the bamboozles come to fruition. Nade spam going forward. We gotta dance through the bang ult, and you know the comms are looking like safe on me, safe on me. But Legacy, they keep barricading forward. They couple their bang ult with a push. You can see Cloaked does fall. Here comes Mirage ult. Start the bamboozling. Okay, that's what we want, but it doesn't matter. It was a valiant effort, but Legacy, they will take that fight against Temper. We've got the Nox gas traps to try and provide some kind of cover throughout the reset. And now we go forward.
Ultimately, it was an excellent attempt by Avant there, and I will say the Mirage was looking particularly chaotic. You saw some of the aiming there from Legacy for a moment. They were trying to figure that one out, and it did get at least a player and a half's worth of damage down as a result. Optic here, though, they're cleaning up things towards what is more of a dominant endgame position. We talk about some of these millage finishes. Godrock has a lot of really great control and angles for punishing some of these late rotating teams.
Very true, and Meat's still trying to find a way in. They will fall to the hands of FaZe, who need the eliminations. Early on, we did witness Exet fall also, which is quite unfortunate. We're not going to get that same 6-game magic like we saw yesterday.
This is a struggle. That is going to be really chaotic, especially in terms of waiting for our final overall standings. The question of whether meat lovers did enough will be on the minds of everyone. For Legacy, they have just landed. They have hit what is the entrance now to Millage, and I'll tell you what, they say the IMC Armory or the previous looks pretty good.
Ooh, there's a squad in there though, but we've got no issues with stamping their eviction notice. Yanya does get the shield cracked, but they just take down 2 members of SSG and clean house, man. Legacy is looking in final form.
It's a solid setup, but it does come at the cost of Niazel, and I will say Frexus does make a bit of an exchange towards the low ground there. They miss them inside the bots. For DSG, caught on the outskirts. This is what happens when you delay the edge too long here. Finally picked up by EEC, and it's been a great day for them ultimately, so it won't cost them much.
But EEC, they were a team that could potentially face relegation, and they have fallen to Oversleepers, who are also on the cusp as well. And well, Moist, they tried their best to make that reset happen. Waltzy goes down. We take down Sentinels. Do we get the res? We have a minute left before the zone starts closing, but not when every team is looking your way. You do pick up 5 eliminations throughout, but Oversleepers kind of going on a bit of a run here.
It's a good run, but it needs to be even better for Legacy. Finally, though, this IMC offers little to no cover. As a result, they are finally picked up out in 10th as 9 lives finally makes their ways in. Now, I will say that is something for them to maybe potentially rear their head and continue to capitalize. 16th on the overall standings. They were one of those rosters we talk about in 21st overall, safe currently, potentially on their way out.
We looking for a sniper montage in the hands of Monsoon. It's now or never. Found one. And out in this zone, with it being so open, it's the perfect time to make it happen. Complexity back to full force here. Woohoo! This is the start of something, isn't it?
I'll tell you what, Tiff. It only takes one bullet here. Monsoon, Sentinel in hand, now with the highest grounding of positioning on this hillside. We've been kind of waiting for them to find their form all day long, and this is probably the best chance they've had thus far, especially given the fact that we see so much of the lobby diminished. I mean, this is as aggressive as it gets. And NA has completely ramped going into our final matchup of the day.
Well, big shouts to Legacy and Moist for soaking up a lot of the points here, and Complexity coming in with 9 to our final game. If they go up with a north of 20-point game, we could see them potentially jump into the top 10.
We'll see how it goes, but ultimately they gotta contest the building ahead first. Breaking into the top 6 is good, though, with Empire picked out from Lou there. Couple of thermites and some gas down. It's gonna be hard to fight against a Caustic.
It's always hard to fight against Caustics. Optic fall and Oversleepers about to join them. Can we make it happen, though? We're looking for maybe a shield core swap here. Don't dance too far into that zone, but it's still tough. You got DZ on the outside, 2 members of 9 lives, and it's just not going to be enough. Let's jump into a listen in with Dark Zero to how they're going to navigate this rotation.
Okay, no, shut up. Everyone shut up. Wait, shoot this team. It's a shit team. It's a shit team.
It's Mon. Cole, maybe Cole.
I don't think it is. I have no syringes, fuck.
I got charge scented.
Bro.
I have no close gun. They're Watson, right?
We're moving out here.
Crossing to the back side of the fence is gonna be pretty free, I think. How much heavy?
33 total.
At 150.
Stop that maybe. We cross to the containers,
I jumped some.
and then we just walk.
Yeah.
We just walk bit to bit, you know, bit to bit.
Yeah, they might be like 40 on him. He's trying to. You got that kill easy. Yeah, okay, nice.
Dust him.
Yeah, he ran into the door. He ran into the way.
Try to get a therm on him.
You want me to come to you?
No.
I'm gonna get a therm on him.
Play for the cross.
Okay.
He got re-knocked.
Just try farm these kills, but don't fuck up.
No,
only 3 squads really. It's squad hill and then we focus on our rotate. Let's go. Come with me.
I'm rotating.
Go on to here.
Yep. I'm looking right. Actually, we can't really say that.
Look, they give us all the answers to the questions that we had for them. They make that rotation, they focus on it. But the interesting note here is as soon as they see the Sentinel, they're like, Complexity, that's Monsoon.
Or Cole, potentially, but ultimately at the end of the day, the man has made a name for himself when it comes to the weapon at hand here. Still though, targeted out with only a bit of cover. There's going to be a slide down from DZ in just a moment as E8 and 9 Lies have pressured just enough of each other. DZ though, I mean, if they can find that chunk of cover and just force this fight to happen across the board, they're in such a good position.
It's very typical to how we witnessed Furia approach the pylon zone, right? You just hear it real quick. Shut up, we're focusing on our rotate. They do just that. They walk onto the rocks. They've got angles onto Complexity now.
Wow.
And they're just unleashing all of the damage. My only issue with this is Zero doesn't have any nades. He uses his thermite earlier to break the door, but they do have the bang ult. And I'm curious, was Jen able to get the cooldown off on the Nox cast trap?
Complexity ultimately face a double knock there. Monsoon being that final member to play upon the cover, but it's going to be an incredibly hard game just to survive alone here. For Dark Zero, with those points they've picked up, they've officially surpassed Moist here after what was their early elimination.
Yep, we are trapping forward. He does have his ult avail. And now for E8 on the bottom of this building. Monsoon still alive elsewhere. 9 Lives does fall.
Good tries. We'll see how that ends up on the overall a little bit later here. Elevate particularly strong as Monsoon, of course, that last member alive, a singular rat in this exchange. The smokes to give a bit of cover here. You have to wonder if Monsoon gets a little feisty.
I mean, I don't blame E8 for full sending this, and it just depends on how much damage Monsoon's able to do to elevate, but they should stay healthy. I'd imagine we are also holding our Nox gas grenade in pocket, and DZ, they make their entryway in. Beast of the Hunt is popped, and we are just going forward. Zykes. A glass cannon. He does fall, though. It doesn't even matter because they've done enough to put the pressure on, and when times get tough, you just focus on the rotated hand, and maybe you'll win a map number 6.
A simple, clear comms here for DZ leads to the ultimate exchange of positioning to give them their win. It literally could not have been better, and it's a great example of how great this roster has been all split long. There's a reason why they sit at the top, and while literally no one's worried about the positioning, they're pretty much already confirmed here from what we've seen from the statistics. It does leave us worried, right? That's the monster that lies in wait when we start to set up the storylines here regarding our ALGS playoff.
I can't believe it's over. When you think about it, before we see all where everyone's kind of ended up, what Legacy was able to do, where they find themselves, do they make it near the top 8, the top 12, whatever it is, trying to get to land. I can't, these months have gone by so quick, Zephyr. They've gone by so quick.
Hasn't even been here. It feels like we were just starting yesterday, and ultimately it feels like we were just working our way into the beginnings of season 20. And these teams are figuring it out just as quickly, and now they're going to have to truly test their might against some of the best of the best. Be settled.
Yeah, it's really tough. I look at this and I see that 0 for Xset falling earlier. We know they were just kind of waiting to see where they ended. Let's go ahead and get Glitter back so we can start breaking down what has happened and where we're about to go.
Really, really strong way to close out the day for DZ. I know Legacy went out probably a little bit earlier than we expected, but they had a lot of things they were trying to fight through to even get to where they were. And at the end of the day, an overall absolutely stellar performance. Like both of you guys are saying, though, there are quite a few teams that are still up in the air, so we're gonna have to let all of the calculations be done in the background and see where everybody shakes out at the end of NA. Before we get into that, we'll take a look back at our final circles, this time the ones that happened on Stormpoint, and we definitely started Stormpoint off in style, to say the least. The first time we get to see a pylon zone, and this was just absolute chaos with our teams stacked on top of each other and trying to wait as long as physically possible before they had to push out into all of the space. Dark Zero was here, Xset was here, Optic was here, EEC was here, and everybody had to choose when they were going to make their move. Meanwhile, on the outside, Furia had already pushed through Sentinels, cleared them out. Then they had pushed through Elevate, cleared them out, and Furia was owning the north side of this zone. All they had to do was wait for everybody else to pick each other off. And at the end of it all, it was a very clean and very simple win for Furia. And this was a match that they needed, Tiff.
They really did. And I love that when you're going through this, you're using the past tense of they were here at one point, but Furia taking that early fight against Elevate and usurping them from their position ultimately put them in God spot for that game. Now, this is where things start to get interesting. And I know Zephyr was talking about how Legacy uses their ultimates to kind of push forward, and we get to re-look at that and kind of assess it, because at first, it doesn't necessarily look like that's what's going to be to win them the game. You've got Guild over here, throwing out the traps, making them further, and then Waltzy kind of doubles down, takes out the rest of Ape Gang, and then here it is. Empty throws Bang ult and starts pretty much what you would think decimating them, cracking those shields, putting them in a not advantageous position before they hit that rotate. And all the death boxes below, this is what I was curious. Do we get shield core swaps? I know Neozold 1 gets one late in the game, but despite thinking we can just peek on over this, they climb straight up and chow for the high ground and just win those. Yanya, we called him the Devo Demon earlier, and here's that shield swap to kind of go back together with a little bit of force, and Legacy ultimately usurp Moist.
A fantastic success for them, but one that doesn't extend into this game here. Ultimately, we see the remnants of Complexity deleted as they're pushed off of their height, with Elevate being the only full 3-man left standing up against Dark Zero. And we've made a ton of claims regarding the really successful positioning from Dark Zero on their early rotate. But what I love about this particular zone is how quickly they capitalize on this. Elevate, the minute they go for this exchange to play into what is achieved a second, look at how quickly Sykes, Jen Burton, and crew launch across the map to take what was that previous wall. It's not much of a position for playing in terms of cover, but it is something that gives them incredible sightlines that notably Sykes, especially on this Beast of the Hunt, gets to take advantage of. They could have played from height, but instead they get right into the thick of things and find themselves in a victory for our final game.
Oh, and we get a little bit of a look here at our series results, and Legacy end up with 86 points. A phenomenal series on behalf of Legacy in that first place spot, but so many other teams, as we look down the list, needed these points on the board, Tiff. I mean, we see Optic up here. We talked about them. Sentinels in that 9th place spot. This is going to completely shake things up.
It is, and I'm just so curious, was it enough? At the end of the day, was it enough? And now I'm so scared. But granted, Xset, despite going out with a donut in that final game, they're able to hold on to 7th place. And we'll just have to see how those regional finals shake out. But overarching enough, with the 33 eliminations that Dark Zero picked up, I think they broke 200 eliminations for the entirety of the regular season split one.
Zephyr, I want to get some insights from you as well on what we're seeing on the second half of the page, because quite a few teams that we were looking at potentially in a rough spot. I mean, you've got them all clustered together too. You had mentioned them earlier over Sleepers, but then followed by Meat Lovers, Nine Lives, FaZe. What's going to happen with them?
This is going to come down to the wire here. We know for some of our teams that didn't get to compete today that they're likely done between squads like Game and Gladiators and DNO, which could be potentially usurped by any one of these figures. The problem being that we extend as far down as roughly that 22 to 30 point margin, where you need to sit somewhere above 44 here. If none of these teams have achieved that mark, they might be on their way down to the mix of the Challenger circuit, where they'll face off against in that Pro League qualifier.
This is going to be super fun to see what happens here. We're waiting to find out, was it enough on behalf of Sentinels? Will they move into that top 20 and continue on into regional finals? Where does this put Legacy? Obviously, they were comfortable, but they were around the same spot that Xset was at. And now the performance we saw out of Legacy should shoot them up. Zephyr's saying it to a top 4. I saw that 4. He's trying to call it, doing the math in his head already. I mean, this is going to shake things up, and it's going to provide some snowball. If Legacy plays like that in regional finals, then the teams that have been chilling at the top, that have been comfortable, and I'm thinking of DZ, I'm thinking of Moist, teams they fought against and beat in the matches specifically here today, have to look out for what Legacy is going to be bringing to the table. I can't wait to see what these results are. Production always makes us wait with bated breath, and I need to find out how it all went down. Not to mention a few of those other squads that we mentioned potentially facing relegation. And this is, whoa, 9 Lives just barely sneak in at 20th, and Meat Lovers miss at a tie for relegation. Are you kidding me, Tiff?
Look, Tech can't catch a break, man. If I have to say anything, Tech has had one of the wildest pro careers we have ever witnessed. I don't have any other things to say about that. I'm gonna let Zephyr talk because I just,
sure,
you know.
I mean, it's just as a jaw-dropping surprise to me as well. But hey, let's congratulate some of the successors here. 9 Lives in the bare minimum, actually going up a position after their play today. And while 8 Gang loses a spot or two, they managed to hold on. Sentinels, though, breaking past the 21st mark, that would, yes, set them up for split 2, find their way into regional finals. It's going to take a whole lot more to break into that top 12, but now it is in a realistic distance for this roster.
Massive performances on behalf of 9 Lives and Sentinels, continuing to see another day of this competition. Moist also on the flip side of things, we're looking at the top, the second team to have secured a spot at our Split 1 playoffs here in year 4 for NA. Both of our former APAC teams coming to NA, now the first two to get those land spots nailed down. Wow. That has got to feel good, Tiff.
It really does. And as I look at this, I still have the same thoughts. There are only 10 points separating 3rd through 11th place. And with one more, those top 20 teams going into regional finals where those points are still in effect to shake up this leaderboard, anything can happen. And now I'm scared.
I mean, suffice to say, these regional finals are going to be insane, Zephyr.
Yeah, when it comes down to it, too, you look at some of the bottom half teams, and even for rosters like Optic, it's not the end of the world here, but when we talk about the gap between them and 12th place, I mean, that's working out to roughly around that 13 to 20 point margin, which is still a very large, at least successful day of placement here. So if you're not even working out with some of the win for some of these bottom teams, you still have to be utmost what is better than they have ever performed before in North America.
Now, we've seen some insane team performances here today, but now I want to focus in on a specific individual. And this was a tough choice because if I'm being totally honest, I probably could have picked anybody on Legacy. But for me, after today, it has to be Yanya. And when I start to tell you the stats, you will understand why. Obviously, Legacy as a whole having a phenomenal performance here today. Yanya on the Bangalore here, just consistently being a nuisance, no matter where Legacy was, always doing a good job of dealing damage. And when I'm talking about damage, he had 25 kills on the day, 22 heading into the last match, and 22 elims in match number 5, where he had 11 of those. So 50% of the kills in match number 5 were just Yanya. Then to close out the day, we're talking back about those 25 kills, over 8K damage. I don't even know if that's allowed, but that is what's happening here. And that's not even taking into account what his teammates brought to the table. That's why I'm saying it was a really hard choice to pick between any of the players here on Legacy because they were that strong. But look at these stats. You cannot deny that this is one of the most standout performances we've seen from an individual, and that's specifically taking into consideration the fact that how many times did we see Legacy go into a fight, not only with the top teams in the entire region and come out on top, but at a disadvantage, whether they had to cross somewhere and take a lot of damage to their shields or whatever the situation was, they still managed to clutch up every single time. And Yanya, as an individual, clutched up that much more. So for me, it has to be Yanya. It's just insane. I mean, Zephyr, I heard you kind of like laughing at just how ridiculous those stats were when I was saying it. It can't be overstated how good of a game that or day that is.
To give everyone kind of an idea of what this means, the damage that Yanya was putting out is literally the equivalent of upwards of 42 kills in a single game. That is 170% of that damage on top of the 25 kills that we did get to see. To say there is an extent to this aggression is an understatement. Legacy absolutely decimated, destroyed, and demolished North America today.
And Tiff, I didn't even get to hype up Jaguares or Niazzle because you still had 28 assists on Jaguares. You had over 6.4k damage to Niazzle. I mean, this team just put in work.
The legacy continues. They want to hit land. They want to carry it forward. I mean, look, if we've got the Devo wielding demon as our MVP, it was crazy. And we look back through the highlights and it wasn't just the Devo. That was just half of it. It's the energy weapons of the season 20. It's the Volt. It's the Havoc. It's all of them. And they are just roaming crazily throughout. But to jump from outside where you were kind of neighboring Xset on the leaderboard and really inch closer to what were we talking our magic number being like 94, 95-ish? You're about, what, 9 or so away from that? You've got, sir, sign language, hello.
89.
Perfect. 89 is great, okay? And we're sitting here with 82. So we're about 7 away. So not too bad. I'd feel relatively confident. I wouldn't say it's at 100% stamping the ticket, but I would put it at about 97.3.
Yeah, and when you have a performance like that though, too, guys, that's now heading into regional finals. They're snowballing off of this, knowing the types of engagements they can take, the fights that they can win, what's working for their squad. And that's after their similar situation. We mentioned this earlier. They had a slower day yesterday. They bounced back times a million. So to be able to mentally reset, I think we had talked about Sentinel in the same regard. Doing that from match day to match day, Zephyr, it's impressive.
It is understated how hard it is to do something like that, too, especially when you are as far back going into those overall standings. We could have watched Legacy walk into a position with those regional finals, really pressured to make something happen, to have their day 9 in our finals, which ultimately is a completely different type of beast. That's when our groups mix. That's when the true best of the best of North America come to face against each other, and they're putting themselves on their strongest leg forward. The fact that they found that kind of stability into their last match day goes to show a lot of that experience, the repertoire, and what they have brought to Apex Legends, not just today, but for so many times in the past.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what Legacy will bring to the lobby when we get to regional finals, and then potentially, like you guys were saying, based off math, that global stage. But if I'm not mistaken, we also have an opportunity to chat with Yanya right now, who should be ready, standing by. Yanya, congratulations on one of the most insane performances we have seen. How are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling so excited. I don't know. We played so good today. I don't know what to say. We played out of our minds. So yeah. We're trying to get luck for LAN and to represent Mexico the best that we can do. Yeah.
I mean,
look. Oh, I was gonna say, Glitter, if you want to follow up with that, please do.
I just have one quick question to follow up on that, because we talked about it while we were watching you guys, just how insane it is when we watched you fighting teams like Moist and Dark Zero, and you go into the final 3v3 and you guys take damage right away, and you're lower than them on shields, and somehow you still absolutely destroy them. What is working so well for your team? How are you handling those fights when you're at a disadvantage?
I don't know. I was just telling my team that we wanted to play like really confident, and yeah, I don't know. I was ego challenging everything without having fear to the enemy. So yeah, I don't know. I was playing really confident with my team. I was really confident with my calls and with my gun skill. I think that helped us a lot. We wanted to qual to land because, yeah, we don't want to miss land and don't represent Mexico. So yeah, we had like that part pushing us to play really good. So yeah, I know.
You did. You played amazingly. That's it. I mean, no, it's not that simple, right? There's a lot of times where we hear players come on and they say, we played confidently, and that just changes the entire game. And this entire split has been so challenging for the majority of our squads, you being one of them coming into this match day. So we'll go ahead and shout it out. You don't have an org right now. You want to lock in land. So talk to me about the preparation that's going to go forward for you as a squad.
Like preparation? What do you mean?
Well, for either for the LAN and teams, or are we potentially getting an org signing in the future when we lock in LAN? Eh?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna say that we are talking with some orgs. So, but yeah.
I love to see it.
I think I'm gonna say. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's all you can say, but trust me, this is the man. This is the roster that you need to sign. And trust me, and behind the scenes, I've vouched for y'all many a time. So I will say I'm happy to hear that there are things potentially coming through. Ultimately, though, I want to talk about regional finals. That's still a little bit of a blockade ahead, and you guys aren't technically confirmed yet. You're still kind of 7 points away. What does that look like for you ultimately? You're pretty much confirmed, but I want to hear how y'all are going to treat it going into your last moments here within the region.
I think we're going to play the same, like really confident. I know that we are not like 100% locked for land. So yeah, we just got to play like we played today, confident, playing together as a team, and we are going to be probably good, I hope. But yeah, let's see, right? Everything can happen.
Okay, I've just got one more question before we let you go here, Yanya. But I want to get your opinion on what season 20 has done for your team's playstyle. You guys have always been comfortable being aggressive, but you just look even more solid right now. So what do you think is working for you when it comes to season 20 changes?
I think that everything that is happening for everybody is that we are not used to play without Horizon, and yeah, everyone is like really confused that we cannot push like with the new meta of Bloodhound, Bangalore, and Caustic. So everyone is just not playing confident, including us. But yeah, we just gotta like get used to the new meta of playing without Horizon, and yeah, you just gotta like play confident with the new meta.
Listen, I think you guys have absolutely adjusted to this new meta. You looked untouchable today. So congratulations on a great match day. And thank you for chatting with us. We'll see you in regional finals.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Talk about humble. You can't put up numbers like that and simply chalk it up to just, I was just a little bit more confident today. You killed half the lobby. What do you mean?
We love a good mental shift, right? It's like you just say, I'm going to be confident. I'm going to play confident today. But if you could back it up mentally, it's clearly working. And now with the performance today, they're obviously going to carry that forward into regional finals.
All right. Well, we had a wonderful day here for NA. Before we say goodbye to everybody, I need to get your final thoughts. We've finalized another region. We're looking towards another set of regional finals here, Tiff. So what's going on in your head?
The only thing that's going on in my head is my brain is just saying the map pools are the true villain arc of season 20. The map pools are the true villain arc of season 20. And will they be just as scary in the regional finals, because that is where we're going to see the best of North America drop in and try to slot in for that landslide. And you even hear Yanya saying, you know, we're not fully locked yet. We did great, but it's not locked. Even Psycho earlier, yeah, this is great. Love talking about all these other teams, but I've still got my own squad in Oxygen to get locked in for LAN. So there's nothing certain just yet, but the path to LAN is getting one step closer.
Is that for your thoughts as well?
It might be one step closer, but it's definitely already on my mind here. There's not a single day that I'm not thinking about those playoffs, especially now that we know we've got teams like Reject Winity, Tom Young Kung joining us. Of course, Aurora locked in, and now Dark Zero and Moist rearing their heads. It's already starting to be what I would consider probably is going to be the most aggressive playoffs we have ever seen in ALGS history.
I think you might be 100% right on that. So whenever you guys know that LAN information, you better start getting those tickets and preparing to see what's going to happen at Split 1 playoffs. Okay, but before we get there, we still have these epic regional finals that we need to talk about, because we're not done with the season yet. We're done with our main play days, but we still have one more showdown. That is the regional final. First of all, this is EMEA regional final in 1 week's time, where we will determine which teams will make their way through to that Split 1 playoffs, which teams will be representing EMEA on the global stage. We've seen the domination of Aurora so far the entire season, being the first squad to solidify their spot at that playoffs. Knowing they're going to be there is going to be massive. And then, of course, what we just saw here in NA, now 2 teams so far nailed down a spot, and that's going to be first Moist here in 2nd place, and of course DZ, our 2 former APAC powerhouses, also facing off against some of the other squads that we saw have phenomenal performances here today. Whether that was Furia, whether that was teams coming back like Sentinels, or whether that was like the team that we just spoke to in Legacy. So many pop-off moments were had and will continue into our regional finals. And one important thing to note is that obviously the regional finals is a match point format, which makes it that much more exciting. So you don't want to miss a single second of it. But if you do, all you have to do, follow us on social media, whether that's at Play Apex Esports on X and YouTube, or at Play Apex on Twitch. And that way you can get caught up on everything before those regional finals and then watch it all live to see what happens. I can't wait. Hopefully you guys are excited for it too. And while you're counting down all of those days to the regional finals, log into the game. Play some Apex, okay? See if you can climb the ranked ladder while waiting to see which teams will compete on a global stage. We'll see you right back here next week.